Hey folks, it's Cody Stoffer with Playmakers Corner, here to tell you about Code Red coaching. Competing in athletics means you've lifted the weights, you've watched film, and you've got the passion. Problem is, that's what everyone else in the state has done. Perfect your game by honing in on your mental performance with Code Red coaching. Whether you are a team or an individual, Code Red coaching has the tools to create mentally solid habits and set up you or your team for success. Find Code Red Coaching at coderedcoaching.com or call 720-979-1914 to learn more today. That's coderedcoaching.com or 720-979-1914 today. Now back to the show. Hey y'all, it is Cody Stoffer here at the Playmakers Corner podcast, and yeah, you are hearing this early on the episode doing a segment because I attended a 1A semifinal game this past Saturday. It was Forge Christian Fury versus the Limon Badgers here. Limon trying to retain their status as the top dog or Badger in this case and go back-to-back. Meanwhile, Forge Christian in their first year in 1A trying to see if they can make a run at the 1A state championship. Let's go ahead and dive into it. So this game was at Forge Christian. That is in Arvada, basically off of 52nd and Wads, more or less. Not quite, as it's on that frontage road for I-70. But let's go ahead and talk about what happened in this football game. So Forge Christian is going to start with the ball in this game. And while there is a very short run by Strange to start, things get stranger for the Limon defense as Dante Vigil rips off a 79-yard touchdown run here to kick open the door. And with 11 minutes and 19 seconds still to go in the first quarter here, Forge Christian is on the board 7-0. But the special teams makes a mistake on the following play, kicking the ball out of bounds here and giving the Badgers excellent field position. Now, for Limon here, they're going to start off running the football here, gaining 7 yards on first down and setting up 2nd and 3. On the very next play, they're going to hand it off to number 23, Camden Taha, who we have found out is Corey's cousin, not sibling. But Camden here runs and gets to the 50-yard line and gains a first down. However, on the very next play here, Dante Vigil, as well as number 44, Ethan Maxwell, crunch this run here and force a very long play. But Maxwell runs it back and gets another big stuff, forcing 3rd and 7 for Limon here. Limon comes out, rolls out right, and throws right and gets to the 43-yard line, setting up 4th and 3, where they hand it off to number 12 here, Skylar McCready, who barrels ahead here and narrowly gets a first down, carrying some defenders and keeping this Limon drive alive. Now, there's going to be a pass on the very first down here that is contested and broken up by number 3 of Forge Christian. That is Quentin Torres here, and force a 2nd and 10. But Limon will eventually find themselves in 3rd and 6 and call play action left, where their quarterback, number 3, Aiden Coleth here, throws a absolute dot here to number 20, Jaden Martinez, who makes an incredible catch by the boundary here. Just an awesome throw and catch on a comeback, and will get a first down. Now, on the very first down here, 75, Caleb Newhall of Forge Christian absolutely destroys the run, and another short run sets up 3rd and 9 for Limon, where they throw to the flats, and initially a flag is thrown on the play. I thought that they drew a PI, as it appeared that the defender got to the receiver before the ball got there, but the flag is waived, and Limon will be forced to take a timeout with 4 minutes and 50 seconds since they were planning on a play call following the penalty. And so, on 4th down here, they're going to drop back to pass, but Uli Tafoya and Ethan Maxwell get to the quarterback, sack him, and force a turnover on downs. And now Forge will get the ball on their own, inside of their own 30-yard line. They'll call a jet sweep and a quarterback keeper here that sets up 3rd and 1 and get a QB sneak with Strange barreling ahead for a first down. They then take a deep shot downfield here, and it is heavily contested by number 2 of Limon, but it is caught all the way to the Limon 25-yard line. The catch was made by Quentin Torres here and puts them in Badger territory. Now they keep it moving here with a handoff to Tafoya that gains 5 yards to the left, and then another Tafoya run sets up 3rd and 1. However, it is going to be swallowed up. They try and power ahead for a first down, but the Limon defense of Dre Taha, which is that another cousin? Holy cow. Number 2 of Limon, as well as number 21, Jacob Jacklich here, barrel in and force a stop here. And Forge is going to call hurry up and call a QB sneak and gain a first down, except a flag on Forge undoes the first and makes it 4th and 6. Well, they'll attempt a field goal here and kick it to make it 10-0 with 50 seconds left in the first. Now, Limon here gets Forge to jump off sides here, but following a few plays here, they're going to end up in a 3rd and 2 where they try and power ahead for a first down, but Sam Granillo and Carson Craig, number 50 and 24, respectively, stuff the run and force Limon to punt. Forge here is going to start on their own 36-yard line and gain 6 yards with a quick pass to Joey Shelton here. And then they're going to call a jet sweep right that gains a huge chunk, but a holding penalty forces them back and honestly kind of kills this drive quite a bit here, as there's going to be a huge pass deflection on 3rd and very long by Brody Scherer here, and it's going to end up being broken on the very next play, and they'll have to punt. And a very nice punt return here by Dre Taha sets them up just past midfield to the 44-yard line, and they're going to try and get something going in Forge territory, but Dante Vigil absolutely discourages this with a major hit to start the drive here. And on the very next play, number 21 of Forge Christian here, Brendan Hardy, has excellent coverage and breaks up a pass, and now they are in 3rd and 9. They roll out right, and the quarterback fumbles the football and luckily recovers it, but on 4th and 9, they're going to have to punt. The drive will start inside of their own red zone for Forge, and number 54 of Limon actually gets a huge hit, Daniel Forrestal, on the very first run here to force them into a long situation. And then on the very next play, their defensive end, Carlos Nunez, as well as number 44, Liam Yoder, crash in and force a short gain here. And on 3rd and 6, they're going to roll out right, Forge Christian that is, and throw it, but the pass is going to be dropped and they'll have to punt. Now the Badgers get the ball on their own 45-yard line, and there's going to be a gain to the 47, and eventually they're going to find themselves at 3rd and 5, and Forge Christian is going to take a timeout with 4:48 left in the half here, and then their cornerback here is going to make a tackle out on the boundary, Brendan Hardy, to force a loss and a punt. Now the first play for Forge after the punt is a 48-yard run by number 15, Sullivan Strange, to get all the way to the other 30-yard line, with Dre Taha making a potential touchdown-saving tackle, and Limon will take a timeout to regroup here with 3:12 left in the half, and each team has 1 timeout remaining in the half. And now back-to-back stout defensive stops forces Forge into a 3rd and 9, and the Limon defense buckles in and recovers here with a Drayson Davis tackle to force Forge to kick a field goal here. And the 44-yard field goal is quite a distance here. They line it up, and the kick is good. And so it is 13-0 with under a minute left in half. And Limon here is going to try and take a shot on their drive here on 2nd down left. It's just barely overthrown, and it leaves 13 seconds on the clock. And on 3rd and 9, they're going to try and run out the football here, or run out the clock, I should say, for the first half. However, Carson Craig has some other ideas, forcing a fumble, and number 3, Quentin Torres, lands on it, giving Forge just enough time to try a 47-yard field goal before half, which they will connect on, making it 16-0 heading into halftime. Limon here, they get the ball out of half, and they need to respond. They need to find a way to move the ball on this defense, but there's just no options here, as eventually on 3rd and 10, they try a play-action rollout, and Vigil brings the heat, lands a big hit, and forces an incompletion, forcing Limon to punt here, and Forge will respond with some big plays here. They toss it right to Vigil, who gets into the red zone. They hand it off to Yuli Tafoya here, who gets inside the 15-yard line. And then a play-action right throw to Quentin Torres from Sullivan Strange will score, making it 23-0 with less than 10 minutes left in the third quarter. Limon here will eventually find themselves in a 3rd and long situation. And on 3rd and long, Forge is going to respond by bringing the heat, getting a sack from Uli to Foya here, and Carson Craig. Sorry, Uli or Uli, if I keep mispronouncing it. Let's just stick with Tafoya as he makes a big play with Carson Craig to force a punt. Limon is at 4th and 17. Now, Forge survives a very tough and scary muff on that punt and are on their own 38-yard line, but eventually just connect some dots down the field. A run right for 8, a pass left to 17, who stiff arms and climbs ahead into Badger territory. Now, an incompletion will slow it down, but motion left to right, Dante Vigil gets the ball and runs for a first down. They take a shot right that is just not quite good enough, but Tafoya gets the very next run and gets 5 yards. And on 3rd and 5, they hand off to Foya, who gets a first down. And only a couple plays later, they call a pitch play to Dante Vigil, who winds up and passes it to number 17 for the touchdown. Joey Shelton there. And these shenanigans are basically going to make this game out of reach. And so I stopped taking notes here after there is a huge sack by number 44 on 3rd and long on the very next drive for Forge Christian here. Number 44 for that defense being Ethan Maxwell. And after Limon punts, that'll be the end of my notes. The final score of this football game was 37-0. Forge Christian all the way, who will now head down to Dutch Clark Stadium this coming Saturday and compete for a 1A state title against the Ray Eagles. Stay tuned for Phoenix's recap and for the predictions right after that. I've been your showrunner/host for this segment, Cody Stauffer. Catch you later on the episode.
Hey, what is going on, everybody? This is Phoenix Barons here with Playmakers Corner, and I'm here to give the recap of the semifinals round in 1A football, as well as going to go through some of the predictions for the state championship matchup. We got a couple games to talk about, and the final state championship matchup this weekend. We're going to go through the predictions from Playmakers Corner, as well as predictions from Anthony Garcia of Mile High Prep. Thank you, Anthony, for your takes for this entire playoff season. We greatly appreciate it. And also check out Mile High Prep for more of Anthony Garcia's content. So let's get right into it. We got 2 semifinals matchup to go over, and that is Limon versus Forge Christian and Ray versus Buena Vista. These 4 teams have made it to the Final Four, and only 2 teams are going to move on to the state championship game being held at CSU Pueblo this weekend. So big congratulations to all 4 of these teams for making it this far. The Final Four is not an easy spot to reach in the playoffs, and all 4 teams should be proud of how far they have come this season. But business is not over, and there is still another game left, and that is the big one, the championship game. So who moved on? Well, let's start off with the Ray and Buena Vista matchup. The number 1 seed took on the number 5 seed in Buena Vista, and this was a very interesting matchup. 2 really, really good teams going head-to-head with each other. In order for Ray to get here, they started off round 1 against North Fork. That game was played in Eaton. I'm pretty sure that was because of some snow that affected Ray. A lot of other matchups were also affected by weather that weekend because it was a really, really rough week of November in terms of weather. That week, Limon had to play Platte Valley in Strasburg, and Ray had to play North Fork in Eaton, but it didn't really matter. Ray was able to defeat North Fork 48-14. They then went on to face number 8 Highland after Highland defeated Flatirons Academy and handily beat them down 41-8. And it led them to their matchup against Buena Vista. Buena Vista had faced Burlington and Holyoke up to this point, defeating both of them, but this was going to be a very, very interesting matchup. Buena Vista actually had the home field advantage for this matchup because they had to go on the road to Holyoke, with Holyoke's seeding after defeating Centauri round 1. Buena Vista had to go to Holyoke, and after they had defeated them, they had less home games, so Ray had to make the trip down to Buena Vista. It was still Ray's game to win, and that's exactly what had happened. Ray, in their last 2 matchups, scored 48 and 41. This time, they ended up scoring 52 in their matchup over Buena Vista, only allowing 15. that being the final score, Ray defeating Buena Vista 52-15. It was tied at 7 in the first quarter, but once it got into the second, that's when it really started to get out of hand as Ray scored 20 points to Buena Vista's 8. Buena Vista would not score at all for the rest of the game, and Ray would score 18 in the third and finally one more touchdown in the fourth to really cap it off. This was just a dominating effort from Ray Eagles as they have their eyes on the prize going down to state championship. This was a perfect team, honestly. Ray had a phenomenal matchup. We saw a lot of big things out of their big stars. Number one, Casey Midcap, the senior, pretty much one of the best players in 1A. He had 10 for 13 for 240 yards and 4 touchdowns today. Absolutely solid passing performance from him. He also got it done on the ground, having 7 carries for 39 yards and a touchdown, and also getting it done on defense, having 9 tackles, 8 of which were solo and 1 assisted, and 3.5 tackles for a loss. Casey Midcap was a man on a mission out there leading the Ray Eagles down there and getting a win in such a big matchup for them, and he did a tremendous job. Also, big shout out to the offensive playmaker of the year with number 3, Samuel Meisner, how he's been all season. They needed a big game out of him, and he delivered, having 20 carries for 142 yards and 2 touchdowns, as well as having 2 receptions for 88 yards, one of them going the length for a touchdown. And he also got it done on defense as well, having himself 12 tackles, 8 of which solo, 4 assisted, and 2 tackles for a loss. But I'd be remiss without bringing up some other Ray stars. We talked about Austin Collins last week. He had a little bit of a breakout performance on the ground. This time around, the junior had 5 carries for 59 yards, but his true breakout performance was receiving, having 4 receptions for 90 yards and 2 touchdowns. And on defense, 1 interception and 10 tackles, half of which were solo, half assisted, but a tremendous effort from him on defense. Been saying his name a couple times in these playoffs, and he's truly stepping up big time in his role. We also saw some scores out of number 19, Aaron Tina, the junior, who had 3 carries for 31 yards and a touchdown. He usually is a big-time receiver, but this time around he only had 2 receptions for 31 yards. And number 4, Angel Santizo, the senior, also having himself a lone reception that went 14 yards and a touchdown. It was a solid performance from Ray. Buena Vista, I got to hand it to them. They gave a heck of a fight. Hudson Wingo, the junior, 10 for 17 for 151 yards and a touchdown, although throwing that 1 interception to Austin Collins and not getting much on the ground, only having 3 carries for 4 yards. Truly a solid effort from number 21, Tucker Montoya, the junior, who had 4 carries for 74 yards and a touchdown, having 4 receptions for 40 yards. And usually when talking about Buena Vista, we see a lot of big things out of Eli Shuknik, the junior. Today he did have 2 receptions for 84 yards and the touchdown thrown by Hudson Wingo, but he just could not get anything done on the ground. This Ray defense held him to 10 carries and -5 yards. Not used to seeing that out of Shuknik, and this was just a rough game for Buena Vista. Ray was a team on a mission and did everything they needed to do to win this game and more. So Ray will be moving on to the state championship game. And who will they be facing? The winner of number 3 Limon and number 2 Forge Christian. And this matchup was played in Forge Christian this time around for this matchup. Both teams have had very interesting seasons. Limon, who have been a 1A powerhouse all season long. Both teams have had a very interesting season leading up to this point. Limon, who have been the 1A powerhouse for years, constantly winning state championships, having perfect seasons. This year was a little bit different. They had a very, very tough league to play in and a couple brutal losses, one to Ray and one to Holyoke. They were coming in as underdogs this time around, but they were able to get to this point by defeating Platte Valley, a team that had been in 2A for many years, now dropped down to 1A as a 14 seed, able to take care of them in Strasburg round 1. They would then host another league opponent in Wiggins, a team that kept their last matchup in regular season within 2 points. This time around, Limon defeated Wiggins 21-12 to get to the semifinals. But they weren't facing any other team. They were facing Forge Christian, another team that have also been 2A for many, many years. This year, they got dropped down to 1A, and I think they're taking that a little bit personal because this season has been almost pitch perfect for them. They haven't nearly had a tough league opponent like Limon sharing the same league with them. But getting into that, they did have to face a Limon League opponent in Yuma, shutting them out 42-0 in the first round. Moving on to Meeker, a team that have also been in the 1A playoff conversation for many years, also been in the state championship position. They shut them out 41-0 last week, moving into this matchup against Limon, and it was pretty much the same story. This wasn't going to be any other 2A team that Limon faced in round 1. This former 2A team is going into this season with one thing in mind, and that's state championship. And that's exactly how they played this past weekend against Limon. Limon have been struggling to score a little bit this season. That has not been the case for Forge Christian, and they backed it up with their defense. And they completely took down the powerhouse without any problems, shutting out Limon 37-0. Forge Christian is going to be a tremendous threat for Ray in the state championship game, and they put Ray on notice by how they beat down Limon. What a game from Forge Christian, not allowing any points out of them. A solid defensive effort from the Fury. At the end of the first quarter, they were already up 10-0. Halftime, 16-0. They would then go on to score 21 more points in the second half, with the final score being 37-0. Huge performance from Sullivan Strange, who's been an absolute star for Forge Christian. Also from Dante Visual, who's been a Swiss Army knife for Forge Christian. Getting it done on all sides of the ball on offense, whether that's throwing, running, receiving, and also getting it done on defense. This was a huge game for Forge Christian. Sullivan Strange leading the charge, 10 for 17 for 159 yards and 2 touchdowns. Also on the ground, he was one of the top rushers, having over 100 yards, 9 carries for 116. He was getting it all done on offense, also with the help of number 11, Dante Visual, the senior, having 6 carries for 129 yards, leading the team, as well as his lone rushing touchdown. He also threw one for 13 yards and a touchdown through the air. And the receiving corps today, number 3, Quentin Torres, the junior, 4 receptions for 50 yards and a touchdown, and also number 17, Joey Shelton, the senior, 4 receptions for 38 yards and 2 touchdowns. This was a solid effort from Forge Christian, absolutely getting it done on offense, but they also got it done on defense. Dante Visual having himself 17 total tackles, albeit 14 are assisted, but 17, getting involved in at least 17 tackles is definitely impressive. Also having a tackle for a loss. And I also got to commend the defensive effort from number 24, Carson Craig, the senior. He had 12 tackles for solo, 8 assisted, and 3 tackles for a loss, including 2 sacks on defense and a forced fumble. He was everywhere on defense, and it pretty much looked like no matter what Forge Christian were going to do, they would do no wrong. I also got to give a shout out to their kicker, Noah Arter, the senior. Perfect on all PATs, 4 for 4, but also on field goals, 3 for 3, and kicking 47 yards, being the longest. That's impressive for 1A football, without a doubt. It was a solid effort from Forge Christian as they took care of business against Limon, and they will be moving on to face Ray down in CSU Pueblo for the state championship game. Cannot wait to see that matchup. That's going to be a good old classic. And before we get into the state championship predictions, I want to get through the Playmakers of the Week first, starting off with some of my candidates for Playmaker of the Week. We'll only have 3 candidates since we only have 2 games to go off of. So to start off, I have Ray's number 1, Casey Midcap, the senior, who was 10 for 13 for 240 yards and 4 touchdowns through the air, 7 carries for 39 yards and 1 touchdown on the ground, was key in their win over Buena Vista. He also got involved on defense, having 9 tackles, 8 of which solo, and having 3.5 tackles for a loss. I would also have to make arguably the Offensive Player of the Year in 1A. Ray's number 3, Samuel Meisner, a candidate as well. 20 carries for 142 yards and 2 touchdowns. His impact was truly felt on offense, having 2 receptions for 88 yards and a touchdown. He also got it done on defense, getting 12 tackles of his own, 2 of which were for a loss. Huge performance from Ray in their win from Buena Vista, thanks to Midcap and Meisner. And my candidate from the Forge Christian and Limon game has to go to Dante Vigil, number 1, the senior. He had 6 carries for 129 yards and a touchdown. Also threw once for 13 yards and a touchdown, and also got 17 tackles on defense. 1 tackle for a loss. Huge performance from him and Forge Christian in their win over Limon. But I got to give it to one kid to become Playmaker of the Week this week, and I'm going to have to give it to Casey Midcap. I mean, a playmaker that can throw for 4 touchdowns, for 240 yards through the air, also getting 1 on the ground. But his effort on defense is truly the outlier in this one, having 3.5 tackles for a loss, 8 solo tackles in his total of 9. Huge performance from Casey Midcap. So this week, he is my Playmaker of the Week for the semifinals round. Congratulations, Casey. Big shout out to Dante Vigil, though. He was my Playmaker of the Week for week 1, and for the exact reason that he was playing this week, getting it done on the ground and also throwing in for the air on the trick play and scoring. But a huge effort from him and a huge effort from Samuel Meisner. Big shout out to those two. But Casey Midcap, Playmaker of the Week for the semifinals round. Congratulations to him. Now that means it is Ray versus Forge Christian in the state championship game. A very interesting state championship matchup, and one that I'm sure everyone in 1A would not be surprised about the outcome, with both these teams being in the big championship game. This is a tough one. This really is a tough one to kind of feel out who will actually win this one. You have a solid foundation 1A team in Ray in a very obscure northeastern area of Colorado. This is a true brotherhood. This is a team built on a farm. I mean, that's pretty much how you have to look at the eastern Colorado schools. That's how they go about it. And with Ray, this is a destined team for the state championship, without a doubt, with some of the best players in 1A on this team. And then you look at Forge Christian, a team that has done it themselves in 2A. They are definitely a 2A powerhouse. From my own personal experience and their own personal experience, this is a team that has dominated the 2A scene and 100% could reach 1A if they had to, and they did, and were pretty much perfect, just like Ray. This is a team built in the heart of Denver, Arvada to be specific. Some strong city kids, that were probably overlooked from other big name Denver schools, and were given the opportunity to show off their stuff, and they have showed it off big time. Everyone except for Gino has Ray going for this one, including Anthony from Mile High Prep. Gino's reason for picking Forge Christian is a very good point. He stated that this game is going to be a classic no matter what, with how dominant both these squads have been all year long. He's picking Forge because they haven't allowed a single point in 6 weeks, plus they haven't let up more than 2 touchdowns for the entire season. They've scored less than 40 points only once in 12 games. Ray is an amazing team, but I don't think anyone could stop this Forge team with how they're playing right now. And that is a very valid point. The way that we saw Forge Christian play against Limon, I would not disagree with that at all. They have been a very high-scoring team and a very dominant defense, and they showed, especially last weekend when they faced Limon. Anthony Garcia's reason for picking Ray stated, "This will be a great game, and I am excited to watch this one live. Ray has played the tougher schedule and has been tested week in and week out. They face 7 playoff teams out of 9 games during the regular season. Forge Christian has not been tested by their schedule, and until the playoffs have faced just one team, Wiggins, who was considered a top team. No doubt about it, this will be a very close game. Ray plays physical and disciplined football, and their defense has shown they can handle a team that can pass the ball. Forge will bring the heat defensively as well. I just think Ray has the experience when things are going rough and how to handle that. And that is also a very good point. Ray has been in a very dominant North Central league with pretty much everyone in that league going to the playoffs. I mean, Burlington, Yuma, Wiggins, Limon, Ray, Holyoke, all of them have reached the playoffs. So that is a very fair point. Ray have been battle tested. Ray have had the season to prove that they are the top team by beating some of the top teams. Now, to be fair with Forge Christian, I think they've silenced a little bit of that doubt already in their playoff run. I mean, they took down Meeker. They took down Yuma, a heck of a team to face in your first round. Someone that is battle hardened in that league. And then they finally had a real test in Limon. Someone who's beat Wiggins a couple times. They are now facing a team that beat Wiggins twice in Limon, and they handled them perfectly. So this will be an amazing challenge for both teams. I decided to go with Ray on this one, and I got to go with a team that has been built by the foundation for 1A football, that have built this dream to be down here. As someone that grew up in Eastern Colorado in the 1A football scene, I know how hard it is to get to this stage right here, right now. It is absolutely the moment Ray has been looking forward to. This is a complete Ray team. Forge Christian is also a very complete team, without a doubt. But I don't think Forge Christian are going to be facing a team quite like Ray. This is a Ray team that can answer back whatever Forge Christian has to give to them. Whether that's trickery, whether that's speed, whether that's offense or defense. Ray and Forge Christian both have had answers to both. And for me, Ray, they have been the best team all season. They have fought, clawed, and perfected their program to build the foundation that's strong enough to survive the toughest league in the 1A classification and battle through the playoffs and make it to this point. State championship. Forge Christian will be the ultimate challenge for Ray, as they will have to, as they have been a top tier 2A team for many years, and in their first year in 1A, they have been perfect. It will be a very close matchup for all the marbles, and the biggest question will be, who will want it more? And my bet is going to be Ray. Ray have been here. Ray have been in this classification for a long time. Forge Christian, they're going to be playing their first real game all season. This is going to be like Godzilla and King Kong. I mean, it's going to be two Goliaths going at each other, and I cannot wait to see who comes out on top. Simon, Cody, and Gideon have all selected Ray as well, for various reasons, being that Ray is the team of destiny. You got to look at their players. Gideon, he cannot wait to see the matchups of Midcap versus Strange, Visual versus Meisner, Tina versus Tafoya, Chapel versus Maxwell. This will be the top game 100%. I cannot wait to see who wins this one. But anyways, thank you all so much for listening. I truly appreciate it. I cannot wait to see how this goes. This will be an absolutely fun weekend, and good luck to both teams. They have done a tremendous job getting up to this point, and they should absolutely be proud and soak in every single moment they have of this weekend and truly enjoy it. They absolutely earned it, and I cannot wait to see who comes out on top. So anyways, thank you all so much, and I will see you all next week.
What is good, y'all? This is Gino with the Playmakers Corner podcast, and I want to welcome you all to a recap of a very fun game from this past Saturday. I had the pleasure of traveling out to Basalt High School for the semifinal matchup between the undefeated and number 2 ranked Basalt Longhorns facing off against the also undefeated and number 3 ranked TCA Titans. With both of these squads being very senior heavy and undefeated on top of that, there was obviously a lot on the line here. With that all being said, let's not waste any more time and get right into this recap. Zach Mediavia is set back to return here for TCA, and he takes the return and he rips it up the sideline for the touchdown as TCA immediately grabs a 7-0 lead here with 11:47 left in the first quarter. It is 1st and 10 for Basalt after the kick return. The first play of the game is a deep ball from the junior QB Carson Schneider intended for Parker Sims, and it is picked off by Hayden Gustafson to give the ball right back to TCA. It will be 1st and 10 near the 50-yard line here for the Titans. On first down, Jackson Schipfer is stopped by Dylan Johnston on the run after 2 yards. And then on 2nd and 8, it is Schipfer again, and he takes the carry up the middle all the way for the touchdown as TCA takes a 14-0 lead 1 minute and 2 seconds into this semifinal matchup. Let's go ahead and see if Basalt can work their way back into this one. It is 1st and 10 at the 25 here for Basalt after the kickoff, but they would end up going 3 and out here. It is 1st and 10 for TCA at their own 22-yard line after the punt, but they would actually end up going 3 and out as well as Dylan Ferreira on 3rd and 6 came in and delivered a huge hit to break up a screen pass to force the punt. It will be 1st and 10 at Basalt's own 38-yard line here for the Longhorns. On first down, Will Daniel muscles his way for a first down, dragging a couple of TCA players in the process. It will be 1st and 10 at the 49. On first down, Will Tarallo goes for 4 yards on the carry, and then it is Tarallo again as he takes the carry outside for a first down at the 41-yard line. On first down, a short pass goes to William Daniel for 3 yards, and then Will Tarallo takes it for 4 yards to make it 3rd and 3. On third down, William Daniel runs up the middle for a first down at the 31-yard line. On 1st and 10, Alex Gould shuts down a Carson Schneider keeper outside to make it 2nd and 9, and then a Will Tarallo run up the middle goes for 3 yards. On 3rd and 6, a play-action pass to Taylor Hayes gets them the first down at the TCA 16-yard line as the Longhorns enter the red zone for the first time in this game. William Daniel takes the run on first down for 4 yards, and then it's Daniel again for 5 more yards to make it 3rd and 1. On 3rd and 1, Will Tarallo is wrapped up by Caden Sanchez on the carry, and he is short of the first down after the measurement, so it will be 4th and 1. On 4th and short, William Daniel runs up the middle for the first down at the 3-yard line. So it will be 1st and goal at the 3-yard line here for the Longhorns. A run up the middle goes for 2 yards to make it 2nd and goal at the 1-yard line, and then another run up the middle is stuffed by multiple TCA Titans to make it 3rd and goal. Caden Sanchez absolutely slams the running back on the run outside on 3rd and goal at the 1 to make it 4th and inches here. It doesn't get much closer to the end zone than what it is right now for Basalt. On 4th and inches, the run up the middle is stuffed once again, so it will be a massive turnover on downs, and that sends us to the end of the first quarter. TCA has a 14-0 lead here over Basalt in this semifinal matchup. It is 1st and 10 at the 1-yard line here for TCA to start off the second quarter. A run is stopped after 2 yards, and then a slant is incomplete, but a horrible no-call pass interference there makes it 3rd and 8. There's definitely a lot of contact on that pass. On 3rd and 8, Andrew Brown decides to keep it, and he goes for a huge gain to make it 1st and 10 at the 26-yard line. On 1st and 10, Andrew Brown throws a dot to Kieran Reeker deep for a first down at the Basalt 25-yard line. TCA rolling here once again. A Jackson Schipfer run on first down goes for 4 yards, and then Andrew Brown is sacked on back-to-back plays with Cody Barton getting in on the action there. It will be 4th and 15 as TCA is going for it here. On 4th and 15, the deep ball to Khalil Blush is incomplete and well covered there by Samuel Wolf, and that will be a turnover on downs. Basalt will get another chance here to score. It is 1st and 10 at the 30 for the Longhorns, but they would actually end up going 3 and out here. But we have some fireworks on the punt here as the punt hits a TCA player and Basalt recovers at the TCA 14-yard line with 6:03 left in the first half. That is a potential huge momentum swing here going Basalt's way as they have a massive, massive opportunity to get back in this game. A run up the middle goes for 2 yards, and then a run outside goes for 3 more to make it 3rd and 5. And then a pass to Taylor Hayes is short of the first down. It will be 4th and 2 here as Basalt will be going for it. A sweep to Will Torallo is good for the first down, and that takes him to the 4-yard line. It will be first and goal here. On first down, William Daniels' run only goes for a yard, and then another run is stuffed at the 1-yard line. It will be 3rd and inches here for Basalt as they call timeout with 2:37 left here in the first half. Coming out of the timeout is a pitch to Dylan Johnston, who reaches out for the end zone, but the ball pops out, and Basalt recovers luckily, and it will be 4th and goal at the 5-yard line. On 4th and goal, it is a play-action pass as Carson Schneider finds William Daniel in the end zone for the touchdown, and the PAT was blocked, so it will be 14-6 here with 2:28 left in the half as Basalt gets right back into this game. Basalt's kickoff rolled out of bounds. That will be a penalty. Plus, there was a personal foul there on the Longhorns, so it will be 1st and 10 at the 50-yard line to start off this drive for TCA. Andrew Brown's run outside was stopped by Dylan Johnston to make it 2nd and 5. And then excellent coverage from Parker Sims, who breaks up a deep pass down the sideline to make it 3rd and 5. And then they just decide to hand it off to Jackson Schipfer, who gets the first down at the TCA 39-yard line. A run is stopped to make it 2nd and 9 as TCA calls timeout with 1:24 left in the first half. Coming out of the timeout, a deep ball from Andrew Brown is picked off by Dylan Johnston, who leaps up and makes the ESPN interception. It will be 1st and 10 at the Basalt 21-yard line with 1:18 left in the first half. After an incomplete pass on first down, Will Torallo's run goes for 9 yards. On 3rd and 1, Will Torallo's run up the middle goes for a big-time first down, plus a flag on TCA there makes it 1st and 10 at the 49-yard line. After an incomplete pass, a run up the middle by William Daniel goes for 5 yards as Basalt calls timeout with 37 seconds left here in the first half. Coming out of the timeout, the deep ball is incomplete. It will be 4th and 5, and then a run is stopped on 4th down, so it will be a turnover on downs. TCA would get the ball back, but they wouldn't do anything there. So we will go into halftime. TCA leads Basalt 14-6 in this semifinal matchup. Starting us off here in the second half, it will be 1st and 10 for Basalt at their own 37 after the kick return. On first down, a play-action pass goes to Parker Sims for a big gain to make it 1st and 10 at the TCA 40-yard line. Then a pass goes to Taylor Hayes for 4 yards, and a William Daniel run makes it 3rd and 3. Will Torallo's run on 3rd down goes for 2 yards, so it will be 4th and 1 as Basalt will be going for it here. Carson Schneider takes the snap, and he sneaks it up the middle for the first down at the TCA 29-yard line. On first down, a run is stuffed for no gain, and then a play-action pass as Carson Schneider rolls out right and finds Parker Sims, who takes it up the sideline for the touchdown. We got ourselves a potential classic here as Basalt has now tied this game up 14-14 after that horrendous start. It is 1st and 10 for TCA at their own 35 after the kick return. A Jackson Schipfer run goes for a yard, and then Schipfer takes the carry again as he muscles his way for a nice gain to make it 3rd and 1. They hand it off to Schipfer again for the first down at the TCA 45-yard line. After a run for no gain and a TCA false start, it is 2nd and 15 as Jackson Schipfer's run is stopped by Dylan Ferreira to make it 3rd and 6. On 3rd down, a swing pass goes to Jackson Schipfer as he is absolutely eating on this drive to make it 4th and 1. TCA is going for it here as the run up the middle is stopped short of the first down. That will be a turnover on downs. It is 1st and 10 for Basalt now at their own 46-yard line. Caden Sanchez lays out Will Torallo on the first down carry to make it 2nd and 10, and then a play-action pass to William Daniel for 5 yards makes it 3rd and 5 at the 50-yard line. A Will Torallo run is just short of the first down to make it 4th and 1, and Basalt will be going for it once again here. But they get TCA to jump off sides, and that gives Basalt an automatic first down at the TCA 41-yard line. After a run and an incomplete pass, it will be 3rd and 6 as Caden Sanchez, who's having a terrific game so far, shuts down a run inside to make it 4th and 5. And believe it or not, Basalt is going for it once again here as Carson Schneider dances around, but he is eventually sacked. So it will be yet another turnover on downs. It is 1st and 10 for TCA at the 43-yard line after the turnover on downs. After the run outside goes for no gain on 1st down, Andrew Brown rolls out and he finds Hayden Gustafson, and Gustafson goes 57 yards for the touchdown as TCA is back up now 21-14 with 1:35 left in the 3rd quarter. Dylan Johnston takes the return to the Basalt 34-yard line to make it 1st and 10 here for the Longhorns. Carson Schneider takes the snap, goes through his reads, and decides to check it down to Will Tarallo, who sheds several tackles and goes 65 yards to tie this game back up 21-21 with 1:30 left in the 3rd quarter. That was an absolutely insane play from Will Tarallo and probably the play of the game as he puts Basalt right back into this one 21-21. After a few missed plays, it is 2nd and 4 for TCA at their own 29-yard line. A run goes for a short gain, and then after a missed play, it is 1st and 10, and that takes us to the end of the 3rd quarter. This semifinal matchup is all tied up 21-21, heading into the final quarter. Who will be moving on to the 2024 2A Football State Championship? Let's find out. It is 1st and 10 for TCA to start off the final quarter of this game, and an Andrew Brown keeper goes for 8 yards, and then a run for a short gain, plus an unsportsmanlike flag on TCA makes it 3rd and 18, and that might as well have shut down this drive on its own. On 3rd and 18, amazing coverage from Dylan Johnston on a great pass from Andrew Brown makes it 4th and 18, and the Titans will be forced to punt here with 11:07 left in the game. An amazing punt from TCA rolls out at the 1-yard line, so it will be 1st and 10 for Basalt, pinned up against their own goal line. A dangerous pitch outside is stopped just short of the safety, so it will be 2nd and 11 here for Basalt. And then a run for a yard makes it 3rd and 10. And then a play action pass to William Daniel gets them the 1st down at the 13-yard line. The 1st down run is stuffed for no gain, and then Aiden Ballar comes in and absolutely smokes Carson Schneider on a bootleg pass near the sideline to make it 3rd and 12. On 3rd and long, Basalt tries to run a reverse, but the receiver drops the handoff and TCA recovers at the 4-yard line. That was an extremely risky play call by Basalt there, and it ends up as a 1st and goal for TCA right up near the goal line. That one could potentially decide this game. On 1st down, Dylan Ferreira delivers a huge hit on an Andrew Brown keeper to make it 2nd and goal at the 2-yard line. On 2nd and goal, Braden Godoy takes the carry up the middle and he reaches across to give TCA the lead back 28-21 after the PAT with 7:56 left in the game. On 1st down, it is Braden Godoy again as he goes 53 yards to the house, and TCA takes a commanding 35-21 lead with 6:48 left in this game. Basalt now has to storm back down 2 touchdowns for the 2nd time in this game. With the season on the line and under 7 minutes to go, let's see what happens. It is 1st and 10 at the 20 for Basalt after the touchback. A deep pass to Samuel Wolf is just out of reach, and then pass interference on TCA on the next play makes it 1st and 10 at the Basalt 35. William Daniel is open down the sideline on a deep pass, but it is just overthrown. And then Carson Schneider avoids a sack, but his pass is batted down to make it 3rd and 10. On 3rd down, Braden Godoy and Riley Romine get the sack to make it 4th and 14 as Basalt now needs a crucial 1st down on 4th and very long. On 4th down, a reverse to Dylan Johnston who goes for a 1st down at the Basalt 46, and this is obviously the play they tried to run when they fumbled on the 5-yard line earlier. Will Tarallo goes for 15 yards on the next play to make it 1st down at the 31-yard line. William Daniel goes for 5 yards on the carry on 1st down, and then Dylan Johnston gets another carry to make it 3rd and 4. A pass to Taylor Hayes goes for a first down along the sideline at the TCA 26-yard line. On 1st and 10, Ridge Blackwood tracks down Carson Schneider and gets the sack to make it 2nd and 15. On 2nd down, a pass to Will Tarallo, who goes a long way for a first down at the 2-yard line. On 1st and goal, a run is stuffed to make it 2nd and goal at the 1. On 2nd and goal, a run is stuffed again here as the clock ticks under 2 minutes and 30 seconds, and Basalt is taking forever to call a play. And honestly, if they have anything they need to work on for next year, it has to be their 2-minute drill, because they were just taking way too much time to score here. On 3rd and goal at the 1-yard line, a play action pass to William Daniel gets them in for the touchdown, and Basalt is back within a score. It is 35-28 after the PAT with 2 minutes and 8 seconds left here in the game. Basalt will be trying the onside kick, but it is recovered by TCA at their own 47-yard line. A run on 1st down is stuffed as Basalt calls timeout with 2:01 left in the game. Coming out of the timeout, an incomplete pass and a receiver is absolutely decked by a Basalt defender there to make it 3rd and 10. On 3rd down, Andrew Brown finds Elijah Wright open on a slant, and Wright goes untouched into the end zone for a 53-yard touchdown to ice this game completely. It is 41-28 with 1:50 left in the game. It will be 1st and 10 at the 10-yard line for Basalt. A penalty makes it 2nd and 15, and after an incomplete pass, it is 3rd and 15. A run is stopped on 3rd down to make it 3rd and 16. And on 3rd and long, J.D. Packard comes in and picks off the pass to put this game away. The Class of Cole Academy Titans win 41-28 to advance to the 2024 2A state championship for a chance to win their first state championship in program history. What an amazing game that was, folks. I got to give Basalt a ton of credit for not hanging their heads after going down 14-0 in the first minute of the game. To come back and make that one a competitive game all the way until the end was really cool to see. Basalt's got all PMC guys like William Daniel and Will Tarallo, and then they've got other great playmakers like Dylan Johnston, Taylor Hayes, Parker Sims, Carson Schneider, and Dylan Ferreira, who made a huge impact in this game as well. Basalt should be super proud for the way they fought this season, and I want to thank all of the seniors for their contributions to Colorado high school football, and good luck on whatever it is you will be pursuing next. This is Gino with the Playmakers Corner podcast, and I want to thank you all for listening to this recap. Peace out.
Hello again, friends. This is Gideon from Playmakers Corner. Now, I will say that these are going to keep getting shorter and shorter as time goes on, as we are on our second to last week, our penultimate week of the 2A football season. And we have our matchups for the state championship, but don't worry, I will be getting in-depth with these games as, well, I won't be getting as in-depth on the Basalt TCA game, but that is because our very own Gino Vigil was in attendance at Basalt High School for this one, but I will also be giving the predictions that everyone at the podcast has given for these 2A championships. So, why did I say championships plural? Good question. I'm not sure, but I think that this upcoming week is going to be a very fun game, and it's going to be between the winner of two matchups. First, we have the Eaton Reds facing off against the Wellington Eagles. Eaton was the 13 seed, Wellington was the 9th seed, and Wellington, they won this regular season matchup very, very handily, but in this one, the Eagles came out on top again. 45-14 win for Wellington over Eaton. No stats for Eaton as of yet, but for Wellington, Tanner Gray, 3 for 7 passing for 32 yards and a touchdown in the air. Rushing wise for Wellington, Cash Alchfager, 109 rushing yards with 1 touchdown. Kyle Kistner with 77 yards and 1 score. Trey Trujillo with 60 yards. Tanner Gray with 58 yards and 2 touchdowns. And Zeke Schroll with 13 yards total. In terms of receiving, the leader was Tyler Schaefer with 24 yards and 1 catch. Alschwager with 6 yards and 1 catch and a touchdown. And then on defense, the leader was definitively Tegan Greiman with 8 tackles. Ethan Thurnez second with 6. Alschwager, Schaefer, and Pike, along with Matt Brown, each with 5. And then Tanner Gray with 4. In terms of air coverage, the leader was tied between Schaefer, Houston Willite, and Owen Gabbert. Now, each of those men caught 1 interception apiece. Willite, he returned his for 50 yards, while Gabbert returned his for 65. Thurnez managed to recover a fumble in there, while Kason Brown had 2 pass deflections. And then also, for some reason it's not listed in here, but Brayton Meglin managed to return a kickoff for a touchdown. That one was at a very crucial moment in the second quarter. Eaton had narrowed it to, 14-21 game. It was looking very, very close here, if I'm remembering correctly. I may not, but in any case, it was a 1-score game in the second quarter. Eaton kicks off. Brayton Meglin, the freshman, catches that, houses it, dodging multiple guys. Unforgettable play. And from everything I've heard, we'll cover this more in the season preview of Wellington next year. Meglin is the truth, and he is the future of this Wellington team, at least after this season is done. So Wellington won this game 45-14. They will be moving on to play at Dutch Clark next week against the winner of TCA versus Basalt. Now TCA, they would end up winning this one 41-28. 14 points in the first quarter, though none until the third quarter for TCA, while Basalt would score 6. 15 points in the third for Basalt to TCA's 7. That one tied it up, but TCA would score 20 points in the fourth quarter to Basalt's 7 to end up cracking this one open. Starting with Basalt, when we are looking at the air game, Carson Schneider here, 204 passing yards on 10 for 18, 3 touchdowns to 2 interceptions. Rushing-wise, the leader was William Daniel with 100 yards on 20 carries. Will Torallo, 52 yards as well on the ground. In the air for the Longhorns, Torallo was the leader with 2 catches for 95 yards and 1 touchdown. Parker Sims, 62 yards and 1 touchdown in the air. Taylor Hayes with 35 receiving yards, and Daniel with 26 yards and 2 scores. On defense, the leader in this one was Daniel with 16 tackles. The runner-up here was tied between Dylan Johnston and Connor Antz with 4 apiece. No sacks. Johnston did catch an interception here, though, and Daniel blocked a field goal attempt. And that really did it here for Basalt. Daniel also had a conversion, and Samuel Wolf went 2 for 3 on PATs in this one. And Basalt, listen, from everything that I heard from Gino, and you guys heard just a few minutes, or you guys will hear soon, Basalt put up a hell of a fight. And then TCA, though, they just triumphed in this one. Andrew Brown was 5 for 14 passing for 177 yards, 2 touchdowns to 1 pick. On the ground, the leader rushing was Braden, the leader in rushing touchdowns was Braden Godoy with 54 yards and 2 touchdowns. Jackson Schipfer with 101 rushing yards and 1 touchdown on the ground. Elijah Wright, receiving-wise, though, one catch for 47 yards and a touchdown. Mr. Gustafsson with 54 yards on 1 catch and a score. And then Kieran Riker with 50 yards on 1 catch as well. On defense, Wright, 24 tackles with 1 for loss. Caden Sanchez, 18 tackles. Zach Hale with 13, along with Alex Gould, Gustafsson, and Richens, each with 11. And then Matthew Wright and Godoy, each with 6 tackles in this game. And screw it, because why not? Andrew Borchert and Joshua Knuckles, each with 5 tackles here. In terms of sacks, Godoy, Gould, and Ridge Blackwood each had 1, while Godoy had 2 hurries in this matchup. And in the air, J.D. Packard and Gustafsson each had an interception, while Gould would block a field goal along with forcing a fumble. Cannon Sanchez would force a fumble, one of which was recovered by Borchert, and Zach Mediavilla would deflect 2 passes here. I'm still kind of confused by TCA's 2-kicker system, but if it works, it works. Between Kai Veronin and Nathaniel Thorne, 5 for 6 on PATs, 1 kickoff return touchdown as well, again from Mediavilla. So TCA will be moving on to face Wellington next week at Dutch Clark Stadium. That one will be at 5 p.m., again at Dutch Clark on Saturday, November 30th. In terms of predictions for how this game is going to go down, this is a pretty split decision here between the different parties that are voting on this. There's Simon, Cody, myself, Gino, Phoenix, and Anthony Garcia from Mile High Prep Report. Thank you again to Anthony for voting for making your voice heard on this matter. It is greatly, greatly appreciated. And so here at the 2A state championship, we are going to start with Simon's prediction here. So Simon, before I say anything else, he is a TCA alum, so he says in his prediction here, TCA, he acknowledges the bias, but in the end, he has seen TCA fall short more times than not. This season, he says it feels different in that they have played a much tougher path to state than Wellington. He says that Pagosa and Berthoud were both tough teams who had very different offensive styles that this defense has shut down. Then they outshot Basalt in their own house to go to state. This TCA coaching staff has been here before, while Wellington's hasn't. The experience and strength of schedule speak for itself. It won't be an easy win, but somebody has to deliver TCA its first title, and he thinks that it's this group. Again, those are all Simon's words, not mine. Cody said TCA as well. He said the quote, "This is the year that the Titans finally get over the hump. The first year we ever started this podcast was right on the heels of a heartbreaking loss to the Rifle Bears in 2A. There have been some serious ups and downs, but a huge up he has seen during the season is an awesome defensive effort week in and week out. In the postseason thus far, they have forced turnovers against every offense they have played and have beaten them in different ways. Pagosa in a blowout, Berthoud in a slugfest, and Basalt in a shootout. It shows him that their adaptability against multifaceted teams and that he thinks that they have played better offenses than the ones the Eagles have played so far. The thing that worries him is that Wellington's secondary is great and held Berthoud to just 14 points while short-handed, and he worries about TCA's play calling, but Drew Brown seems like the QB to finally make us remember the Titans." Trademark. He put in a little trademark symbol on there. Gino said, TCA. Having watched TCA for 3 straight playoff games, he can honestly say that this team just simply won't lose this year. There have been some ups and bumps in the road, but in the playoffs so far, they've managed to bounce back no matter what. And that kind of resilience is what champions are made of. He is super impressed with Wellington getting to this point, but it would have to take their best game all season long to beat this TCA squad, and this should definitely be a close game, but his pick goes to the Titans. Phoenix here says Wellington. He says, quote, "They have been fun to watch all year, and he thinks the biggest thing about this team is that they have a deep roster and deep connections with each other. This is a true brotherhood, and they have overcome the odds of tough losses, rough injuries, and a very challenging league to get to this point. Now that this team is healthy, they've defeated a former 2A state champion team, a former powerhouse 1A team, and beat a league rival twice in the same season on the road and at home. They are battle-tested and ready for the top dogs. And finally, for the picks that are not myself, Anthony Garcia says TCA. Quote, I went back and forth on this decision. He watched Wellington play against Eton and loved their style of play and physicality. TCA, he feels can play against whatever style is needed. TCA playing Basalt should have prepared them for what they will see this week against Wellington, and this will be a great game, and he expects plenty of points to be scored. Special teams and turnovers will be key in this game, as both teams have been top 4 all season for himself. He is picking TCA because of their ability to balance their offensive attack. And ultimately, I will be picking Wellington. I'll admit, I may be biased. I've been watching Wellington for the past 3 years, but they are starting to feel like a team of destiny. Every week, they've leveled up their game, and every week, with different-looking defenses on the other side of that field, they have succeeded. They've learned their lessons, and they're hungry. I've seen this team lose. I've seen this team come back. I have seen this team desperate. And I have seen them win. This team travels well, and their losses were mainly due to injury. But they are healthy now. TCA is a good team, but Wellington, when I talked to their guys, wanted TCA more than Basalt. The guys I talked to said that they are confident in their secondary, and that belief in self is important. I may be wrong. I will fully admit that. But the Eagles have proved that it is a very bad idea to bet against them. And ultimately, that will do it for this week in 2A. And this is the second to last of the 2A recaps for this year, and potentially the last one that I will do. So, for the last time this season, this is Gideon signing off. If you're dehydrated, make sure to drink you some water. If you're driving while listening to this, keep your eyes on that damn road. And I will see you all at Dutch Clark on Saturday at 5 p.m. Peace. Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Playmakers Corner podcast. I'm Gideon, and today we are going to recap the 3A second round matchup between the second-seeded Mead Mavericks and the seventh-seeded Pueblo Central Wildcats. So this one started off with Wildcat legend Amari Brown running for 6 and then 4, followed by a rush for 11 on the opening drive. On defense, Nikolaus Marr got a tackle for loss, and then the defense allowed a touchdown, making it 0-7 for Central against Mead with 4:22 in the first. Aiden Hassel then immediately, first play of this drive, ran in a 80-yard touchdown, tying it at 7 with 4:10 left. The defense was very, very stingy and was only allowing short gains for a while, but after Joseph Castro went down, the Wildcats allowed a 50-yard passing touchdown, going down 7-14 with 1:35 in the first. After an initially muffed kickoff return, which was eventually downed at the 3-yard line, Gennaro Pino threw to Castro for 12. In the second, and after a holding call, Brown ran for 7, but Central eventually had to punt. Jaden Valerio got a pass deflection, and then Simeon Salvao got a tackle for loss. However, Central allowed another touchdown, going down 7-21 with 7:45. Hassel got hurt on a fumble on the kickoff return, and back on defense, Mikey Bryant got a pass deflection, and after an offsides, Elijah Riggs forced a tackle for loss. After making Mead take a field goal, Central went down 7-24 with 3:35. Brown ran for 7, and after Dorian Perez-Roy went down and a false start, we hit halftime. In the third quarter, Castro caught an interception on a third down play, and Brown ran for 14. Pino went for 6, and then he ran in a touchdown himself which Brown then scored the octopus on. This made it 15-24 with 7:35 in the period. Riggs got another tackle for loss, and then Simeon got another one himself. However, the Wildcats then allowed another passing touchdown, going down 15-31 with 30.7 left in the quarter. Brown would run for 8 to end the third, and in the fourth, Brown would go for 20 before catching a pass for the same distance from Pino for a touchdown, making it 21-31. Pino then brought in the conversion, or at least attempted to, which he ended up fumbling, but Castro picked it up and made it 23-31 with 11 minutes left in the game. And this one was down to the wire. One score game, everyone knew that Central could do it potentially. On offense, Brown would run for 12 and then Pino would go for 10, but on 4th and 6 in the next set of downs, Pueblo Central would fumble in their own half of the field. After a face mask, Pino would tackle for loss, which helped to force a field goal attempt, putting the Wildcats down 34-23 with 3 minutes and 16 seconds left in the game. Pino threw to David Sanchez for 7, but after multiple sacks allowed, the Wildcats would turn over on downs with less than 2 minutes left, and that was the season for Pueblo Central. And before we move on to our playmakers of the game for Pueblo Central, I want to take a moment to honor the seniors on this squad, who have done a lot these past few years, have made the playoffs a couple of years in a row now, and whose legacy will not be forgotten at Pueblo Central. So thank you, and best of luck moving forward in your future endeavors to Amari Brown, Ernest Matson, Gennaro Pino, Mikey Bryant, Rafael Dominguez, Niklaus Mar, David Sanchez, Job Martinez, Joseph Castro, Jesse Otero, Marcus Ortega, Aiden Hasselt, Jewel Sanchez, Jamal Darling, Diego Ortego, Luciana Roybal, Josiah Young Quintana, Julian Sanchez, Emilio Valdez, Louis Gomez, Elijah Ortega, Zion Salvao, and Simeon Salvao. And before we get to our offensive playmaker of the game, they say defense wins championships, and this man's defense was impactful. I'm going to choose Joseph Castro. Now, Castro, he did have an impact on both sides of the ball, scoring that conversion when it was fumbled just outside the end zone. But you could really feel the energy shift whenever Castro wasn't on the field. And I mean, his leadership is going to be missed on this defense. I can feel it because I'm not sure what they were putting in his Gatorade, but he was playing with ferocity, and that's something to really admire from a player. And so I say that Joseph Castro is the defensive playmaker of the game in this matchup against Mead. The offensive and overall playmaker of the game for Pueblo Central in this one, I will say, was Amari Brown. Now, Brown, he's somebody that we've been watching for a few years now. Heck of a player on the field, and somebody that I really had some joy being able to watch in person. At any point, it felt like he was going to rip off a 20-yard run, and that struck the fear of God into the defense. You could see it. And he got a lot of good gains, got that receiving touchdown, and kept this game alive for Central at times when it felt a little bit stagnant. And so, congratulations to Joseph Castro and Amari Brown, not just on your performances in this game, but on damn good careers. Now, moving on to Mead's side of this matchup, the number 2 seed. This one started off with Dresden Spendlove getting some good tackles and forcing a punt early, followed by Ryan St. Aubin running for 15 and Noah Chapala running for 6. Spencer Muncie would go for 8, then Christian Heiner would run for 20. Chapala would then strike the first scoring blow, running in a touchdown with 4:22 left in the first to make it 7-0. After allowing a long rushing touchdown, it was 7-7 with 4:10 left, so Breck and Palco would return the kickoff for 20 yards. Heiner would throw to Edison Burke for 6, and then to Eli Davis, who spun around a defender's snag for a 50-yard catch-and-go touchdown, making it 14-7 with 1:35 on the clock. Caleb Goff would get a tackle for loss, but in the second quarter, Spenlove would go down hurt. St. Aubin would run for 20, and Heiner would throw to Noah Vroman for 15 on 4th and 5. Ethan Elmore ran for 6, and then St. Aubin ran in another touchdown, making it 21-7 for Mead against Central here. After a hard hit on the kickoff return, a forced fumble, and a fumble recovery, all in the same play, St. Aubin would run for 9, and then Heiner went for 9 himself. After a timeout with 4:19, Eli Davis kicked a field goal attempt, making it 24-7 with 3:35. After a Griffin Cradishville tackle for loss, we hit halftime. In the third quarter, Heiner ran for 13, but on D, the Mavs did allow a touchdown, closing the gap to 24-15. Spenlove would get a sack on the next defensive drive, but Elmore would run for 6, and Heiner would throw to Bryson Gissel for a 22-yard touchdown, making it 31-15 with 30.7 seconds left in the third quarter. Mead would then allow a passing touchdown with less than a minute having gone by in the fourth, putting some sweat on their necks, making it 31-23. After a holding call, Josh Gonsalves would get a sack and force a fumble, which was recovered by Cradishville. Davis would kick another field goal, putting Mead up for good at 34-23 with 3:16 left. Samuel Hawk got a sack, followed by Carter Woods and Edison Burke sharing one of their own, followed by a Charles Baker pass deflection to close it all out. Now, we have to talk about our playmakers of the game in this one, those being Caleb Goff and Ryan St. Aubin. Now, our defensive playmaker of the game, I decided it was Goff because the offensive line that Pueblo Central possessed was insane. Having to go up against one of the Salvow brothers consistently, getting pressure on that quarterback and opening up holes. Now, Goff may not have the most tackles, but he created the most disruption for Mead, and he opened a lot of holes for his edge rushers and for his linebackers to get pressure on the quarterback, to get in on that running back, to stop long gains. And so I was able to actually split this interview with Alyssa No from Boco Preps. Thank you again, Alyssa, for being such a good conversation partner during this game, but also for splitting this interview with me and Caleb Goff of Mead High School.
It's honestly something I just wanted to do, and it's a good song, so why not celebrate after we win?
Hey, fair enough. And so Coach said it there, but regardless of who you play in the next round, it's either a rematch with Windsor or you're going to be facing a very tough Wing T Pomona offense.
Yeah.
What angle are you looking at this upcoming game from?
We're hoping it's Windsor. We want to get back, but whatever team it is, we're going to go out there and we're going to fight hard.
I mean, this is the most points the defense has given up this year, and it's still 23. What does that say just about how tough you guys are in the trenches?
Every day of practice, we just work hard. We try to get our technique down, everything right. We just wanted more, I guess.
Hey, buddy, I gotta say.
And coming to Mead from Skyline, immersing yourself in this new defensive system, what was that transition like, and how does it feel being part of this brotherhood at this point in the season?
Honestly, at first it was pretty hard, but I love it more than anything else right now. It's amazing. I'm so glad I switched.
Is that why you wanted to switch to play here?
Not mostly, but it was also just because of Skyline's nature, and I wanted to go to a better school. So I love that I came here. It's an amazing place.
What does it mean to be one of the big key players coming into a new school that you weren't so sure of at first?
It's definitely a new experience, and it feels good. It makes me happy every day. I get to look forward to going to school, going to practice every day.
This is your first year at Mead?
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
How do you think that defense moving forward is going to be even more vital? Because like he said, it only gets harder from here.
We're just going to have to keep practicing harder, working harder.
All right. And closing it out from my end, three of the remaining teams, yourselves, Thompson Valley, and Windsor, are Northern Colorado teams, which means if you get to Canvas in a couple of weeks, those student sections are going to be rocking. What is the most key part of maintaining the energy for a title run in such a close college-level stadium?
I don't even know. We're gonna go out there. We're gonna play our hardest. We're gonna stick to what we know. We're gonna trust in each other.
Tell me a little bit more about this brotherhood. Like, how do you see that connection, that camaraderie play out off the field?
It's, we do it in classes. We're always hanging out with each other. We help each other with work, homework, school stuff. It makes you feel at home.
So just something that transcends the turf, basically.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, cool. Thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Caleb, and thank you again to Alyssa for splitting this interview with me. It was a pleasure to be able to get to know more about both of you, and best of luck to you, Caleb, as the season progresses next week, and we will get more into that next matchup here in a moment. But first, our offensive playmaker of the game, or just one of them, because it was very hard to choose one particular offensive playmaker of the game. Could have spoken to Christian Heiner, could have talked to Noah Chapala. I ended up going with Ryan St. Aubin of Mead High School. Ryan, a junior here, he got one of the first two touchdowns in the game and was a very consistent running back in this offense. They kind of have a 3-4 running back system at Mead, but before I go any further, here is Ryan St. Aubin from Mead High School. What's up? This is Gideon here with Ryan St. Aubin from Mead High School. Now, Ryan, you guys have made it to the Final Four. Your next matchup is either going to be a rematch with Windsor or with a very tough Pomona team. How are you feeling for either of those hosting here at Mead High School?
Yeah, we're feeling great. We're glad it's at Mead High School. We're ready. Whoever it is, we'll bring them on. They just got to be ready.
Very good. And a lot of the holes that were open tonight in the trenches were won very hard against a huge Pueblo Central line. Mm-hmm. But from here on out, the lines only get bigger and tougher.
Yep.
As a running back, what's your strategy looking at those holes that your guys are making for you?
Yeah, I just find the hole. I trust my O-line. O-line has been great all year. Defense going to hold him, and I just make a move upfield and score touchdowns.
Hey, fair enough. But when we're looking at this game in particular, there were a couple of moments that it felt like were key momentum shifts. What role would you say your touchdown in there had on the momentum in this game and the eventual outcome?
Oh, yeah, it definitely had some momentum, and it was definitely great for the game here. But all credit due to the O-line and the play calling. They've just been great, and yeah.
Very good. And moving forward, Mead has only ever played in those two state title games, one back in 1949 wow. and the one a few years ago. What would it mean to you and to this community to make it back?
It would mean everything. We're ready to make it back, and yeah, all we're saying is bring them on.
Thank you very, very much, Ryan. It was a pleasure to be able to speak with you and get to learn more about your outlook on the game. And so that is just about going to close it out for this particular segment. Mead has advanced to the Final Four, where they will be hosting the Pomona Panthers on Saturday, the 30th at 1 p.m. at Mead High School. And so whoever wins that game will be advancing to Canvas Stadium to play the winner of Thompson Valley versus Green Mountain. So either way, regardless, the offensive and defensive line matchups in these games are going to be going crazy. Not a lot of passing going to be getting done in these games either, but it is what it is. So ultimately, I hope that all of you listening have a good day. Stay safe, stay hydrated. If you are dehydrated, dehydrated, drink some water. If you're listening to this while driving, look, keep your eyes on that darn road, and I will catch you all on the flip side. Peace.
Hey, y'all. It is your showrunner / host for this segment, Cody Stoffer. And yes, I am the host for the 3A segment. So I love to recap this as Coach V is moving into a new house. So congrats to Coach V on being a homeowner now. Very excited for him, but not as excited as I am to finally get to talk about 3A football, one of my favorite classifications that there is. And so let's go ahead and talk about the very first game that took place on Friday. This is Green Mountain hosting Severance High School here. Severance on a little bit of a miracle run here after pulling off a huge upset in round one. Green Mountain trying to defend their turf here. And so they do so pretty well, scoring 21 points here in the very first quarter here, trying to jump out to a huge lead. And Severance, it's their turn to respond. And as a matter of fact, they do. With just under a minute left in the half, they finally get on the board with a passing touchdown, making it 21-6 here, still making me think that this game could possibly be within reach. However, Green Mountain's additional 2 scores in the third quarter would make this 35-6. That is a 4-score game, and despite Severance's best attempts to come back in the fourth, getting 20 total points on the night with 2 touchdowns and 2 PATs, it's just quite not enough here, and Green Mountain will topple the Silver Knights here at home and win 35-20 over Severance. Some notable performances from this 3A contest include Simon Lunsford's performance at quarterback, 18 of 22, 283 yards with 4 touchdowns to just 1 pick and a long of 60, that being caught by Drew Contreras here. Must be related to Austin Contreras. Make sure to listen to that interview from last year as he was one of our top edge rushers. But back to this game here. Dax Gomez caught some touchdowns. Padilla caught some touchdowns. Max Babel caught some touchdowns. It was just an all-you-could-catching touchdown buffet here. The run game was not in full effectiveness, I would say, but still gained 126 yards on 35 carries, churning out this game and helping us reach the conclusion here. And obviously, their defense came to play through 3 quarters, only allowed 6 points, and then down the stretch, allowing those 2 scores and coming out with the win to advance to the next round, where they will face Thompson Valley. So let's go ahead and talk about the Discovery Canyon-Thompson Valley game here. It was kind of Thompson Valley all the way, being up 20-0 heading into the fourth quarter and scoring another 10 with Disco scoring 7 here, making it a 30-7 ball game here. Thompson Valley tried to keep it somewhat balanced, it seems, opening up with a passing touchdown. But ultimately here, the number 1 seed was just too much for Discovery Canyon and will be looking to play against Green Mountain. We're going to go ahead and hear those predictions in just a little bit. Those stats are also not input as of November 24th, 11 p.m. So, sorry, I can't give you guys more, but only so much I can do here with these recaps coming out on Tuesdays. But let's go ahead and look at the other side of the bracket where we had an absolute thriller for Pomona and Windsor here. This game was super back and forth, and let's go ahead and talk about it through our score tracker here, where the first blood was struck by the Panthers here, where Isaiah Hawkins recovered a fumble and scored a touchdown here to jump out to a 6-0 lead. However, Windsor would not be denied, as in the second quarter, they would get a Jackson Lucero 29-yard rushing touchdown and a PAT that would actually give them a 7-6 lead. Now, after a couple of exchanges of possession here, Windsor would get a field goal here to go up 10-6, and Pomona would have a chance to respond with about 3 minutes in the first half, which they would do here as they drive down the field, and with under a minute or about a minute to go, Tucker Ingersoll completes a passing touchdown to Jaden Molina here, and with the PAT jump out to a 13-10 lead heading into halftime. Now, Windsor would get the ball first here in the third quarter, and Jackson Lucero would rip off a 55-yard rushing touchdown here. And following the PAT here early in the third quarter, Windsor would be up 17-13. Not for long, though, as Pomona would respond on their very next drive here with a Logan Ulrich touchdown to Sebastian Reyes or so it looks like on the score tracker, and following a PAT would reclaim a 3-point lead. That would be the remainder of the scoring through the third quarter, as Pomona would strike again at the top of the fourth quarter with a 58-yard rushing touchdown from Logan Ulrich here, and following a PAT would take a commanding 10-point lead here in the fourth quarter. Windsor would try to respond here, Jackson Lucero scoring a touchdown with under 10 minutes to go, but a missed PAT would make it 23-27, meaning that a field goal doesn't really do any good here. And with Windsor turning over on downs late in the fourth quarter, that would punch Pomona's ticket to the semifinals here in their very first year in 3A, following moving down from 5A last season. Now, who will they be playing? Well, go ahead and rewind this episode to listen to the full in-game recap of Mead versus Pueblo Central here. But for now, I'm just going to fill you in that the Mavericks will be facing the Panthers here following a triumphant win here at home against Pueblo Central, who had an incredible season. Just a wonderful battle in the trenches. Please listen to Gideon's recap on that, so that way you can get full stats, since I got nothing here. But that does it for my 3A recap, and opens the door for my 3A semifinal predictions here. I'm going to go ahead and look through everybody's predictions, read out what they had to say as far as the games go, and be sure to check in later on the episode where we tally the points as far as who has gotten the most games right following this past round and how those implications match up for the semis and championships that are happening over the next 2 weekends. But in the very first semifinal game, we got Green Mountain versus Thompson Valley here. And so let's go ahead and check in and see what everyone's got. Now let's start with our people up north here. Phoenix here is taking Thompson Valley, saying, quote, they will have a solid challenge in front of them with Green Mountain going on a run that puts doubters such as myself to shame. But Thompson Valley has been perfect all year, and a lot of doubt have come their way as well, mainly for their low-scoring offense despite their undefeated record. But in both of their playoff matchups so far, they have scored above their season average, scoring at least 30 against Holy Family and DCC, and only allowing 21 points total in both matchups. I believe this defense is going to hold firm, and this TV team is going to come together and move on to Canvas Stadium. And keeping it up north, Gideon here is going to reaffirm that, saying, quote, I feel like Thompson Valley is one of the few teams this season that matches Green Mountain's physicality. Andreas Gayeri here will have his hands full between Keenan Parks and Josiah Manu, and Simon Lunsford will have to keep his eyes out for Joseph Urisha here. Sorry if I butchered any of those names, by the way. That's me, Cody Stauffer, saying that. But back to Gideon's quote, I think this will be close, but Thompson Valley has exceeded every expectation I've had of them this year, end quote. Gino is also keeping it with the Eagles here, saying, quote, two big smash-mouth football teams going at it for a chance to go to state. I'm going with Thompson Valley here because I think Green Mountain's offense is really going to struggle against this Thompson Valley defense. Green Mountain is big and tough, but Thompson Valley is way more consistent, so I'm going to pick them here to move on to state. Now, for Coach V here, he is going to be selecting Green Mountain in this, saying, quote, when it comes down to it, I just don't know if Thompson Valley offensively can put together a legit 2-minute drill to win the game. I like the options Green Mountain has, and if they take care of the football, there's a good path to winning. This only gets way out of hand if Green Mountain does not stay disciplined, end quote. And I myself, I'm going to go and contrast my original bracket here because I had Green Mountain losing this game, but the versatility they have shown through the season makes me feel like this could be the year they break through. They have a new coach and maybe not the same postseason bad luck that has trailed them in the past. And when I look at the comparison of the games between themselves and Thompson Valley's game here, I gotta kind of like how these similar opponents fought against Severance here. Severance barely lost to Thompson Valley 6-0. I understand that this is at least a league game, so there's a little bit extra oomph in it. But Green Mountain winning 35-20 and kind of coasting to a win has me very confident in the Rams to finally shake this off and advance to their state championship attempt. Now, as for the other side of the bracket, like I said, we got Pomona and Mead here. And I'm going to read this the other way here with Coach V first selecting Mead, saying, quote, Pomona survived another scare, but they now face a Mead team who played a very physical game against Pueblo Central. Mead has the experience advantage over Pomona, as well as the depth advantage in the trenches. I like Mead going to another state championship here. Now, for Gino, he's going to choose Mead, saying, quote, tough hardly describes this Mead squad. They've played every team closely despite some very tough games mixed in, and I really trust them to take care of business here. Pomona's wing tee doesn't match up well against Mead's big defense, and that's really the X factor in this game for me, end quote. Not sure if they run wing tee or if they just run a lot of I form, but I haven't made it out to their game yet. So now Gideon is also going to choose Mead, saying, quote, the Mavs just beat the best line outside of Thompson Valley and themselves and have a lot of momentum. This is going to be one of the best defenses that Pomona has faced this year, and the Panthers will have to do this in one of the most hostile environments in the state. Mead's line seems like an unmovable object right now, and their carousel of running backs is going to be tough. Pomona has a good secondary, but I'm not sure that'll help them much against Mead's 5 yards per play offense, end quote. Phoenix here, also choosing Mead, saying, quote, they have been a tough team all season and beat a very good Pueblo Central team by 11. They won't have to worry about facing the only team to defeat them with Windsor falling to Pomona. That doesn't make the challenge any easier with the former 5A school now at their front door, but even Pomona has fallen short against relatively solid 3A teams this year, including the undefeated Thompson Valley. Mead is right on par with TV in terms of talent, and I can see them taking care of business against Pomona, end quote. So, lots of backstory there, but Phoenix ultimately selecting Mead, and I am also going for Mead. So we have a clean selection of Mead here, which usually spells disaster for us here at the podcast, but for me, I just think that the fact that the Mavs beat Pueblo Central and adjusted very well throughout the game, I think that this front seven has the physicality to beat Pomona in the trenches. So I'm going with Mead tough. That shout out Scott Martinson on this one. So yeah, that's a lot of selections for Mead, but either way, should be a pretty interesting semifinal game. Please go ahead and listen to Gideon's recap of the Mead and Pueblo Central game to know what he was talking about here, as well as catch some interviews as well. And stay tuned because we got plenty of more action coming up for you on these next few tracks. Obviously, you want a trainer who can make you stronger and faster with the work you put in, but what about a trainer who can help you rehab and recover like the pros? Look no further than Junkyard Training, that not only offers specific strength and speed training, but also offers a plethora of recovery and rehab techniques like cryo, cupping, recovery boots, and so much more. Learn more today by visiting junkyardtraining.net or call 303-521-7594. Once again, visit junkyardtraining.net or call 303-521-7594 and get started today.
How's it going? This is Mason, and you're listening to the Playmakers Corner podcast. I'm going to talk about a 4A matchup that happened last week against Dakota Ridge High School and Ponderosa High School. I'm just going to jump right into it. To start this game, Ponderosa got the ball on their own 31-yard line, and it was pretty much a 3-and-out. I mean, number 47, Al Capone VZ went for about 3 yards. Other than that, there was a couple incompletions. Pondo ended up punting. Dakota Ridge got the ball on the 35-yard line, where they started to drive a little bit. Number 5, junior quarterback Kellen B. Henderson goes ahead and throws it to number 12, junior running back Landon Kalsbeck for a swing pass that went for a nice little gain of 8. Then they do the exact same thing going the opposite way, and Kalsbeck again gets 15 yards. They had a bad snap that went straight over the quarterback's head and ended up him falling on it, going back for a second and about 27. Handoff to Kalsbeck, went around the right side, went for, about 7, making it about a 3rd and 20. That's when number 5 steps back, throws it straight down the sideline, where number 21, Ashton Smith of Ponderosa, would pick the ball off. Pondo then gets their ball on their own 28. Number 47, Al Capone runs for about 1 yard. 6, their quarterback, sophomore Coulter Espinoza, then scrambles, making it like a 3rd down and probably about 7 or 8. Then right after that, number 47, Al Capone VZ again, straight for about 6 yards, making it about a 4th and 2. Offsides, number 71 on Dakota Ridge allows them to get a 1st down. It goes an incompletion. 47 takes it for 12 yards again, making another 1st down. Then big time. Number 99 of Dakota Ridge stuffs number 47 for about a 1-yard loss. Number 99 on Dakota Ridge is Marcus Weston, and he played amazing all game. Then right after that, there was another incompletion. 47 then just ran it again for a handful of yards where they turned and threw a screen pass to number 4, Cole Barnes, who brought it to about a 4th and 1. They hand it off to 47, their power back over there, and Al Capone takes it across the middle for about 2, gaining a first down. They go right back to him for 3 yards. Then number 7, Troy McWhorter, takes it for about 7 yards, bringing up about 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3. 7 gets stuffed up the middle, bringing up 4th. That's the end of 1. This game's closed 0-0 at this point. There's an incompleted pass, but they got called for pass interference on Dakota Ridge going down the sideline. This then led them to a first down where there was an incompletion. 2nd and 10. 47 got stuffed, which led Dakota Ridge to go ahead and take a timeout on 3rd and 11. There's an incompletion, so it brought up 4th and 11, and the field goal unit did come out for Ponderosa. That kick was no good, letting Dakota Ridge get their ball on the 20. Right away, false start by Dakota Ridge, bringing up 1st and 15. Number 5 found number 3 for a few yard gain. Then after that, we've had number 5 hit number 3 again, right down the sideline. That went for a 22-yard reception and a first down. Number 23, Sam Callis, then takes it over the middle on a run for about a yard, bringing up 2nd and 9. False start again on Dakota Ridge. That brings a 2nd and 14. Incompletion, bringing up a 3rd and 14. Then 5 scrambles for 14 yards and a first down. 23 then runs over the middle for 2, 2nd and 8. Then another 2 yards by him again. Offsides on Ponderosa allows for another first down. 23 goes for 4 yards. 5 gets stuffed on a QB draw up the middle, bringing up 3rd and 3. Incompletion on 4th down. Now Dakota Ridge brings out their kicking unit, and their field goal is no good as well, allowing it to stay at 0-0. Ponderosa's ball on the 19. They go back to Al Capone for a few different rushes here. It ends up giving them a first down. They went on 1st, 2nd, and 3rd with him, just back to back right up the middle. Incompletion, bringing up 2nd down. Al Capone runs for 7. Then he runs for 3 and out, another first down. This kid was just unstoppable against the Dakota Ridge defense in the first half. Then, number 7 for the Ponderosa team goes ahead and gains 3 yards. Timeout by them. 7 stuffed, bringing up 4th and 5. Timeout for Dakota Ridge. Ponderosa punts. Ball stopped on the 19 for Dakota Ridge. They muffed this punt, and number 23 for them ended up jumping on it. So they got kind of a break there. If Ponderosa would have had another second, I think Ponderosa would have picked this up. They had 3 defenders in the area. Great discipline by number 23 to drop on it after muffing it. Dakota Ridge starts at, 12 runs for 8, 23 runs for 5, spiked the ball on 2nd down. 23 gains 5 yards, 12 runs for 9, QB sneak stuffed again, 5-16 for 19 yards. 23 gains 4 yards, 5 scrambles for 3. But this is where it gets interesting. They're in their end zone. He's about on the 1 yard line, and 5 scrambles around the corner. Next thing you know, this Ponderosa defense has 4 different guys hit their quarterback. One of them rips it out. It falls on the 2 yard line. Ponderosa recovers it. Ponderosa just does a QB sneak to take it to half because there was only 3 seconds left when they got the ball on their own 2. Going into half, it's 0-0. It's probably one of the best defensive battles I've seen to this point. It was definitely not what I expected walking into this game, but coming to halftime, 0-0 was an interesting one. Coming out of the half, Dakota Ridge gets the ball to start the half. They have a pretty great return, and it goes straight down the sideline, goes all the way to the Ponderosa 40. Then it's just 2 plays, 12 for 3 yard gain, 2nd and 7, 5 finds number 23. Sam Callis down the sideline for an absolute dot of a throw for a touchdown. Extra points good, 7-0, DKR up. Ponderosa returns the ball to the 28. Then from there, 6 on a read option, takes it, goes up for 8, 2nd and 2, 47, 5-yard gain, 3-yard gain. We know how it goes at this point. This guy is just gains yards every single play. Incompletion, 3rd and 7. Then this is one that Ponderosa is glad they got, but I think Dakota Ridge wishes they had back. Number 6 throws a ball down the sideline to number 5, Max Mervin, who to this point has been pretty quiet. He's a great receiver, and Dakota Ridge was doing a good job not trying to allow him to get the ball, but they finally threw it to him. But this Dakota Ridge defender didn't even look, didn't even do anything. Before the ball even got near him, he just tackles Max, and that gave him a first down. Number 12, who has been running the ball very well for Dakota Ridge, ends up getting a sack off the edge. That's Landon Callisbeck. Just another sack off the edge, bringing up 3rd and 13. Number 6 finds number 4 over the middle for 10 yards, bringing up a 4th and 3, and this is where Dakota Ridge decided to dial up probably about 8 rushers, bring it through. I couldn't tell you who got it on 4th and 3 after this, but 3 defenders hit the QB, and it ended up being a turnover on down, Dakota Ridge's ball. 5 got a 1-yard rush, 23 got 4, 23 got 3. It ended up, bringing up a 4th and 2, 12 runs for 18 and a first down to the Ponderosa 21. 23 no yard gained there, but there was a Pondo unsportsmanlike conduct. They were getting a little chippy. I know the game's close. They needed to really not have this. It ended up giving them another first down. Then a couple rushes by 23 and 12 to go ahead and get them to a 3rd and 1, where they try and do no play, where they try and get the defense to jump off, but they're the ones that jump. That allows them to have a false start and go to 3rd and 6. 12 tries to take it around the edge, gets stuffed by this Ponderosa defense. Next thing you know, it's 4th and 6. Then DKR brings out their field goal unit, and it's blocked. Ponderosa recovers the block on the 3-yard line. It was a rough one. This kicker for Dakota Ridge was having a rough day. Neither of his kicks, other than his extra point to this point, even were near. They were pretty low and easy to block. But being on the 3, Dakota Ridge started dialing up some rush, so they handed it off. 47 got 2 yards. 6 got -1 on a QB draw, bringing up 3rd and 9. Then 6 finds number 7 over the middle on a quick, very quick slant. And that ended up giving him a first down. It's the end of the 3rd, 7-0, Dakota Ridge. Again, they throw it up to number 5. What does Dakota Ridge do? They tackle him before he even has a chance. It's a very bad pass interference, giving him a first down for Ponderosa. They're afraid to let Max Mervin touch the ball. And I don't say I blame him, to be honest. But either way, 6 finds number 4 for 13 yards. Absolute dot over the middle. 6 finds 4. Pass blocked by number 12 coming through the middle. Kind of shut down their little bit of momentum that Ponderosa was finding there. Delay a game by Ponderosa. Snap infraction. Bring up 2nd and 20. 2 plays back-to-back that really killed this drive. Incompletion. Pondo on a 4th and 20. They punt. Dakota Ridge. Ball on the 39. They blocked it, so it wasn't really that great. But because of a block in the back, it ends up putting them at the 29 instead of the 39. There, they go 3 and out, where Ponderosa tries to, bring up a trick play here. They pitch it back to number 4, and he throws it to their quarterback over there at Ponderosa, and the quarterback just drops it. It wasn't a very good throw. He got hit as he threw, and, it just wasn't great. Ball got tipped by number 99 of this Dakota Ridge defense, bringing up a 3rd and 10. Then number 12 comes off the edge with some crazy speed to go ahead and sack the quarterback, bringing up 4th and 15. Ponderosa punts. Then Dakota Ridge starts with number 2, getting the ball on a jet sweep, gaining about 4 yards. 23 takes it for 4. It brings up a 3rd and 2. 12 for 5 yards, first down. 12 stopped for no gain. Incompletion, 12 for 2. delay of game by Dakota Ridge. They were trying to get them off sides just to see if they could do it and waste a little time. They punt the ball back to Ponderosa, where they're in the fourth quarter with 4:36 left. That leads to, 47, 3-yard gain, incompletion. Pass broke up by number 7 of this Dakota Ridge defense, that being Blake Bishop. Timeout Ponderosa after it is a 4th and 7. This is where it kind of takes a turn for the worst. They dial up a pass where they throw it over the middle to 4. He was wide open, that they thought, but number 35 jumps the ball and takes it to the house for Dakota Ridge, number 35 being linebacker Troy McMullen. He gets a wicked block down the sideline from about 3 of his guys, and he takes it in, and then after the extra point, it's 14-0. Pondo gets the ball. They got a false start. They're kind of falling apart, yelling at each other, and at this point, 6 finds number 5 for 5 yards. 47 gets 5. 47 gets 6. 6 gets sacked by number 3 and number 12 of this Dakota Ridge defense. 2nd and 18. 33 sacks Pondo's QB. If you think about it, it really looks like Ponderosa's QB is just trying to hold on to the ball for way too long right now and just can't get anything dialing in. But then, this is where something kind of cool happens. I think this is probably the best play for this Ponderosa offense all day. 6 throws an absolute dot down the sideline for about 37 to 38 yards to none other than number 5, Max Mervin, who jumps over 3 defenders. This is why they were just hitting him every time he touched the ball or even got the ball thrown to him, because he mossed 3 defenders. But right after that, 6 comes outside, it's 4th and 6 about, runs outside, throws an absolute dot to the end zone, where number 4 for this Ponderosa offense, just the ball slips out of his hands. He was wide open, he drops it. That ends up, giving the ball back to Dakota Ridge, where they just take a knee, and that's the game. It's 14-0. At the end of the day, Dakota Ridge had a few good plays. I don't think that they would have been able to have such a good drive in the first half if it wasn't for an amazing return by number 23 on their offense. Sam Callis with that return to give them great field position. But I think overall the best player that came out and ready to play today and made plays on both offense and defense, and I'm going to give my player of the game to none other than Landon Callisbeck, number 12 for Dakota Ridge. Great work, Ponderosa. That defense was one of the best I've seen in a long time, and I really liked watching. Showed you guys playing with a lot of heart, and I have nothing but respect for how you played. Sadly, it didn't go your way. Shout out to all the seniors that this was their last game on this Ponderosa team. But what you guys did was amazing and great game. But at the end of the day, Dakota Ridge will move on to the next round. Thanks again, guys. It's been a minute since I've been on the pod, but here we are. I'm back. So shout out and be ready for later in the year for you guys to hear our top 5s and everyone that we have to say for that. Again, this is the Playmakers Corner podcast. Peace.
What is good, y'all? This is Gino with the Playmakers Corner podcast, and it is time to now recap what happened in the 4A classification in the quarterfinal round for the 2024 Boys Tackle Football Playoffs. Before I get into these recaps, however, I want to highlight a disgusting development from the Montrose and Mesa Ridge game. Mesa Ridge was traveling to Montrose for a quarterfinal game, and upon entering the visiting locker room, Mesa Ridge players and staff were greeted with racial and homophobic slurs written into the dust of several of the lockers. This is obviously horrifying, and it clearly threw the entire Mesa Ridge program off their axis going into an already intense quarterfinal matchup against a rival school. We've already had people from the Montrose community in our DMs planting conspiracies about Mesa Ridge drawing in the dust themselves, and Montrose has already went ahead and did a quote-unquote investigation on themselves, where they, of course, found no wrongdoing from any Montrose personnel. And honestly, to any of the people who are leaning on that side of the fence, please just save it. We as a podcast have learned plenty about that program and culture over the years, and sadly this event comes at no surprise. To CHSAA and to the Montrose administration, it is time to make a change. I don't know if it was a player who did this, or a fan, or a student, or hell, even a coach. All I know is that kind of evil and hatred has absolutely no place in this game, in this state, or in this country. I implore Montrose administration to do some self-reflecting and really think to themselves, is this the reputation that you want? Is winning games using the wing tee worth painting your entire football program in this disgusting light? I also hope CHSAA looks thoroughly into this disgusting event and they do what is right for these players. There needs to be absolutely zero tolerance for things like this, so please, please don't let them get away with this. And let me be very clear when I say this. We at the Playmakers Corner podcast will no longer cover or mention anything from the Montrose football program as long as that coaching staff and culture is in place. Now with that out of the way, let's see what happened this week in the quarterfinal round of the 4A state playoffs. Looking at our first game on Friday, Dakota Ridge got the 14-0 win over Ponderosa to move on to the semifinals. For Dakota Ridge, it was Landon Carlsbeck all day on both sides of the ball. He finished with 99 yards on 14 carries, and then on defense, he also added 10 tackles, 4 tackles for loss, and 3.5 sacks. That is absolutely monstrous production there from Carlsbeck and definitely puts him in the conversation for Playmaker of the Week. You also had Kellen Berenson go 7 for 12 for 140 yards with a touchdown and an interception. His leading receiver was Trace Batten with 73 yards, a touchdown on 3 receptions. Also defensively, Brady Palladino had a sack. For Ponderosa, it looks like Dakota Ridge's defense had them struggling big time with Al Capone Veazey not even getting 100 yards in that game. He had a great senior season though, and I wish him luck at Michigan for his wrestling career. You also had the QB Coulter Espinosa. He went 8 for 24 for 86 yards and an interception. Definitely a tough game from him, but he should grow a lot from that experience. Next up here, it looks like Broomfield got the 32-23 win at Palmer Ridge. For Broomfield, it was the running back Colin Torres who had a monster game here. He had 158 yards and 3 rushing touchdowns on only 19 carries. You also had the senior QB Darian Jackson go 12 for 20 for 209 yards with a touchdown. His leading receiver was Michael Benner with 6 receptions for 106 yards. Then you also had Gio Toledo who had that receiving touchdown. On defense for Broomfield, Michael Benner had 5 tackles and a tackle for loss. Elliot Less had a sack. And Maverick Scarpella led the team with 9 tackles and a tackle for loss. For Palmer Ridge, it looks like Carson Campbell went down early in that one, and it was their kicker, Rhett Armstrong. The Baylor commit stepped in at QB and went 13 for 22 for 208 yards. And real quick, I think that just comes to show how awesome these Palmer Ridge coaches are, just being able to use whoever they need at QB, and they still made it a competitive game nonetheless. In the run game, it was Jackson Mabe. He had 3 rushing touchdowns, only 25 yards though on 10 carries. For receivers, it was Zeki Wacker leading the team with 87 yards on 4 receptions, and then Zach Chrysler had 56 yards on 7 receptions. Moving on to the Saturday games, first up we have Pueblo West getting the 42-28 win over Heritage to move on to the semifinals. It was a monster game from Gavin Lockett, who had 292 rush yards, 4 rushing touchdowns on 31 carries, and then passing the ball, he went 4 for 7 for 77 yards and a touchdown. Lockett has racked up a ton of Playmaker of the Week awards, but he might just get another one with that performance. On defense, Jason Marquez led the team with 11 tackles, and then Rudy Gutierrez, Grant Sontag both had a sack. Also defensively, Brendan Ray had an interception, and then Garrett O'Brien went ahead and had 2 interceptions of his own. No stats for Heritage, so we will go ahead and move on to this next one here. And then lastly here, we have Mesa Ridge, who fell on the road 53-21. And obviously there were some very unfair circumstances before the game that threw Mesa Ridge off completely. And honestly, I just hope that those players and that those coaches get some justice, because that is just completely unfair for them. I hope the players keep their heads high, though, for an amazing season, because they have a lot to be proud of. With that all being said, though, folks, this is Gino with the Playmakers Corner podcast, and I want to thank you all for listening to this 4A recap, and I will see you all next week. Peace out. Now, folks, to wrap things up in the 4A classification, let's talk about some podcast predictions here for the 4A semifinals. Coming up first here, we got Dakota Ridge versus Broomfield. Coach V has Broomfield in this matchup. He says Dakota Ridge played a sloppy game against a team that is very well coached, but simply did not have the talent to challenge them that much. It should be concerning how much they played down. Broomfield, on the other hand, met Palmer Ridge in Monument and matched their physicality. This honestly can go either way, but give me Broomfield. Cody has Broomfield as well. He said, after hearing how Dakota Ridge played Pondo, I think Broomfield's line just will prove to be too much and should be the key to their second state championship in 3 years. Gideon also has Broomfield. He says, if Dakota Ridge plays like they did last week, this is Broomfield's game to lose. The Eagles have a much bigger line, and the skill playmaking power is about the same. The Eagles matched the Monument Moving Company easily, but Dakota Ridge struggled against Ponderosa's much smaller line. However, if Dakota Ridge fires on all cylinders, then it is very possible that they can win. Either way, Canvas is going to be rocking in a couple of weeks. I will actually be picking Dakota Ridge in this one. They are the toughest team from the toughest league in the entire state, and Broomfield's win over Palmer Ridge was very impressive, but I've seen Palmer Ridge choke with my own eyes against Mesa Ridge in the regular season. Dakota Ridge's offensive efficiency and defensive personnel allow them to be favored in most, if not all, matchups, and this game is no different. Give me Dakota Ridge to win this one. Phoenix has Broomfield here. He says Dakota Ridge struggled in their last matchup and didn't score much. Meanwhile, Broomfield was able to hold off the 4A runner-up last year and put some points on the board. Broomfield has been a team on a mission since their 10-point loss to rival Erie, with very convincing wins since. I believe in their momentum and that it can carry them all the way to the state championship game. Next here, we got the Pueblo West game. Simon has Pueblo West winning. He says, it's wild to think one of these teams will go to state. Both of them will pound the rock and control the pace of the game. I think Gavin Lockett will be the X factor, though, and I just don't think that the other team has an X factor of their own. Cody, Gideon, and myself all have Pueblo West as well. Gideon says, this one was as close as can be last go-around, but the Cyclones are hungry. Gavin Lockett is hungry, and he's not the kind of guy that is easily denied. In my mind, this is another 3-point game, but the Clones know what it takes to win in the other team's town. I may be wrong, but this is going to be a good game regardless. Watching either in Canvas is going to be a good time. Phoenix has the other team winning here. He says they have been perfect all season and even defeated Pueblo West in league play November 1st, but by such a small margin that they'll want to avoid that happening again. They did so against Mesa Ridge. Now they just have to do it again, which they proved they can do. And that, folks, is going to do it here in the 4A classification here in Week 13. This is Gino with the Playmakers Corner podcast, and I want to thank you all for listening, and I will see you all next week. Peace out.
What's good, y'all? Coach V here, and I got a classic here played on November 22nd, 2024. It's a 5A quarterfinals game between Mountain Vista, who's hosting, versus Fairview. Both teams going into this game, I believe, undefeated. Mountain Vista, the 2 seed, Fairview, the 7 seed. Mountain Vista blowing out Falls Ridge last week. Fairview blowing out Chatfield the previous week, meeting up in a game that we expected to be a close one and a good one going into this one here. So without further ado, let's go ahead and hop into this one. So to start first quarter, Fairview will go ahead and get the ball. They line up in wing T to start, and it starts with a handoff to Jordan Rochelle, the senior athlete, who gives them their first down. 2 plays later, they go ahead and hand it off on a sweep, still in wing T, handing it off to the junior Torrey Davis, who would give them their second first down as they are now rolling. Eventually, though, it does get to a 3rd and 8 after a couple handoffs go nowhere, and that's when they decide to spread it out, and they go ahead and put the quarterback Key Ellison, the sophomore, in shotgun here. But before they do a hard count, and then they call a timeout at 8:20 left, very early on here. But 3rd and 8, looking to convert and keep this opening drive alive. Key Ellison gets a snap, drops back, and ends up throwing the screen left here to Ryder Villarreal, who finds a lane down the left sideline and gets a big first down to keep this drive alive. Now Fairview goes back into the wing tee on the 25-yard line. They hand it off right. That goes for 8. Then it's another handoff, this time right up the middle, goes up for 13. Another handoff this time to Brock Colstead, the senior, goes for 5. Another one this time to Luke Strickland here, who I believe is a senior wide receiver. That goes for another first down. Now 1st and 4 basically on the goal line. They hand it off right here to Davis, who makes it eventually 3rd and 1, or 2nd and 1 is what I should say. And then they would just go ahead and call fullback dive to Brock Colstead, who punches this one in a powerful run to make it 7-0, only 5:35 left in the first half. Now Mountain Vista, they go ahead and take a bad kickoff here. This kick goes out of bounds, so they start on the 35, but a couple quick plays later, a run to Jack Blaze for 0 yards, and then a quick check down here to Blaze makes it 3rd and 6. On 3rd down, Austin Madreski, the most prolific quarterback in Colorado high school football history, goes ahead and he tries to check this one down after no one's open here, but it's incomplete. At first, it looks like Mountain Vista is lining up to go for it here on 4th and 6, but it ends up being snapped to their punter, who rolls out right and then just kick it, catching them off guard. Unfortunately, though, they're not able to pin them down. The guy that gets down there is just not quite quick enough, and so this ends up being a touchback. Fairview, they go ahead and take over. Now, Fairview, they go ahead and line up in the spread this time. Ellison under center. He goes ahead, gets snapped, this time runs left, gets a first down. Back in shotgun again, Ellison hands it off to Ryder Villarreal for 6. They then go back in the wing tee and run a sweep to Rochelle, who makes a 3rd and 1. And then they hand it off to Torrey Davis, who gives them another first down. Following that, Fairview with some trickery here, try the double pass here, and it looks like it is going to be a good look, but unfortunately this ball is just slightly overthrown here, so that's incomplete. Back in shotgun here, the snap dropped, but very quickly recovered by Ellison here. He tries to check it down, but that player is immediately blown up. A tough incompletion as the defense is trying to pick it up here. Still in shotgun, Fairview calls a timeout with 2:12 left. Their second timeout of the first quarter here, and it is 3rd and 10 when they come back here. So 3rd down, Ellison in shotgun decides to scramble left here. He would eventually give them a first down to extend this drive. On the 45, past midfield. Now, staying in shotgun, Ellison is looking after he gets snapped, but nobody's open. Tries to throw a slant here, but it's a nice deflection by, I believe, number 8. That's Brooklyn Bailey, the sophomore corner for Mountain Vista. That would eventually force 3rd and 10. And actually, sorry, on first down, they would throw it away. On second, it would be that break up by Brooklyn Bailey setting up 3rd. Now, 3rd down and shotgun here. Ellison rolls out right and throws it. It's a perfect throw down the right sideline to Ryder Villarreal, who's in 101. He catches this one and gets a great gain here. And it now puts them on the 11 on about the 20-plus yard gain. They go ahead and hand it off here to Torrey Davis, who gets about 3. They then hand it off to Rochelle, who reaches over after some nice nifty moves here, but is just ruled short on the 1-yard line. So first and one on the goal line. And they go ahead and call the same play that they did on the first drive. Fullback dive to Brock Colstead, who punches it in and gives Fairview the dominant 14-0 lead. Now, Mountain Vista, they take over with 29 seconds left. They're trying to get back into it. Here's what happens. They want to sweep right to Sean Conway, the senior wide receiver. He gets about 5. They then throw a quick out here left to Jakai Mack, who breaks some tackles and gets a key first down, this time across the midfield. And that is as the quarter runs out. So here in the second quarter, Mountain Vista 1st and 10 on the 40 to start here, down 13. I forgot to say that Fairview PAT actually got blocked. after that second Brock Colston touchdown. So they are down 13-0 here, but they have the ball. Still plenty of time. Here is what happens. On first down, it's a throwaway. On second, it's a screen that goes for about 4. That goes to Ja'Kai Mack. And then on 3rd and 6, Austin Majewski drops back. He throws it deep. It's open, but a diving pass deflection by Fairview's Sabby Rutgers, I want to say. The junior goes ahead and forces 4th down. On 4th down, Mountain Vista, they're going for it. And here's what happens. Austin Majewski in shotgun. He gets a snap, buys some time, and he throws a beautiful pass off platform over the middle to Japri Jennings, who cuts it upfield for a tough first down that puts them on the 11-yard line. After a handoff left to Blaze that goes for 6, Austin, he gets the snap here, and he just rushes left, untouched, as he cuts into this lead 7-13 with 9:23 left in the second quarter. Now Fairview, they go ahead and take over here, and at one point they have to call their last timeout at 9:04 after a tough holding play on first down here, and they would not quite be able to recover from that as they try to take some deep shots, but it's just not there. They go 3 and out after that tough holding call. Mountain Vista taking over with 8:44 left on the 50 as they have a chance to even take the lead right here as well. So here we go. Majewski under center throws a tunnel screen left here. I believe that goes to Mack. That goes for a first down and a big gain here. He then goes back to Ja'Kai Mack here on the quick hitch, who breaks some tackles before getting lit up here, but gets a nice gain of a first down. Following that, Majewski throws a left here. That goes to, I believe, maybe Blaze. I couldn't quite see, but it goes for a couple there. Then there's some trickery here. What looks like to be a sweep ends up being reversed. Then a toss back to Austin Majewski, who fumbles the ball, but he picks it up, outruns the linebacker bearing down on him, and then eventually throws it to a waiting Ja'Kai Mack into flats, who gets loose and gets another big first down. Barely avoiding disaster there, but it works out eventually in the end. Now, on first down here, Majewski gets the snap. He throws it right over to Elam Parisi's, their tight end here, who is just wide open right up the middle of this field here. And so the senior scores as Mountain Vista goes ahead and kicks his PAT to retake the lead here, or take the lead 14-13 with 6:32 left here. Now, Fairview on the 18-yard line. They go ahead and line up in wing T. They hand it off to Jordan Rochelle, the senior, and he gets a snap. He cuts it upfield, drifts towards the left sideline, and outruns the defense, and he is gone to the house for Fairview as they respond right away here to make it 19-14. They go ahead and go for 2 here, trying to go up 21-14, and Ellison gets a snap, and he runs it in to make it 21-14 with 6:15 left. Fairview not going away, but Mountain Vista with a chance to respond on the 40 after a nice return here with 6:09 left. They go ahead and throw a quick out right here. It's a good first down, but it's also a personal foul throw on Fairview for a late hit, so it's an automatic first anyways, plus 15, I believe. Following that, Majewski goes ahead and throws to, I believe, Brooklyn Bailey in the slot left here. He would go ahead and give them a first down, putting them on the 24. They then hand it off to Jack Blaze, who explodes down the left sideline and almost scores, but it looks like a face mask throws or would stop him short here. That's what they would throw there, but a couple penalties were thrown on this one, including that, and so it would eventually end up mostly offsetting Mountain Vista still, though, with a 1st and 10 on the 24. So here's what happens. First down, they call a reverse left. That goes for a nice gain here, but there's another flag thrown, another personal foul thrown on Mountain Vista. So after all that craziness, it's 1st and 10 on the 24 again. But before they could run a play, it's a false start on Mountain Vista as they are shooting themselves in the foot right now. 1st and 15 now after a couple penalties. On first down, it's a tough check down that's incomplete. On second, it's a delayed handoff left here to Jack Blaze, who makes a couple nifty moves for a big gain here, a first down now on the 12-yard line as they are finally going. And then Austin Majewski, he gets snapped, throws a quick left to Elam Parisis, and he basically just walks it in as they now tie the game after the PAT, 21-21 with 3:59 left here. Now Fairview on the 35, they line up in wing T trying to run it, but it basically goes nowhere. Mountain Vista ends up forcing a 3-and-out here. And so here we go, Mountain Vista with a lot of momentum. They're on the 49. Quick throw goes for a first down on the first play. On the second play here, it's a good throw over the middle by Majewski for a big first down to put them in the red zone here. They're going hurry up here, looking for a haymaker in this game. On first down, their second first down, I believe, it's a quick throw to Jack Blaze, who breaks loose down the left sideline for a big touchdown to give Mountain Vista the lead once more, 28-21 with 2:12 left here. Now Fairview, they take over, looking to tie this one right before half. On first down, it's an incompletion down the right sideline. Deep down the right sideline, but they would go right back down the right sideline, this time to Jordan Rochelle, who gets a big splash play to make a first down on the 27, under 2 minutes left. A good throw by Ellison to Rochelle to get this one started. After a incompletion on first, on second, it's a corner throw here, but the receivers definitely interfered with. But there's also holding by Fairview at the line of scrimmage, so they offset. It's second down here. On second, Ellison throws the out route. It's overthrown. It's incomplete. But there's a roughing the passer penalty thrown on Mountain Vista. That's an automatic first down, as these penalties are getting to be a little bit much for Vista here. Now, first down here in the red zone, Ellison gets snapped, tries to buy some time in shotgun, eventually rolls out right here looking for a player, but gets sacked here by a couple Mountain Vista players. Unfortunately, though, it's another personal foul thrown on Mountain Vista here as the penalties are racking up. It's now first down on the 7-yard line despite the sack, 57 seconds left here. And so here we go, first down. Ellison gets snapped, rolls out right, throws it here, but it's picked off by Brooklyn Bailey here, who jumps the out route and just makes a great interception to end this drive and bail out Mountain Vista of what could have been a disastrous drive with so many penalties that were moving the ball there. But instead, Mountain Vista takes over on offense on the 20 with 51.9 seconds left. Here's what happens here. They go ahead and throw it down the left sideline. That gives them a first down. They also get out of bounds. On this next play here, Austin Majewski with some nifty moves scrambles left and gets out of bounds. Another big first down, 30.8 seconds left as the clock stops. Following that first down here, Majewski throws a screen left to Jack Blaze, who breaks loose, going from left to right to open field and is looking to score here, but is just stopped short. And so it is now a first down on the 13-yard line, almost a 30-40 yard play right there. Mountain Vista calls a timeout with 20 seconds left, obviously. On first down out of the timeout, Majewski throws a check down. Well, that's blown up by Ryder Villarreal. They immediately called their timeout here. Their last one at 14.4 seconds left. And also, by the way, that play went for a loss, so it's 2nd and 17. Out of the timeout, second down for Mountain Vista. Majewski gets a snap, and he goes ahead, and he rips one right down the middle to Sean Conway. A great throw here for the touchdown to make it 35-21 with 9.5 seconds left here, as Mountain Vista with all the momentum going up 2 scores right before half here. Now remember that as Fairview would run out the rest of the clock in the second here, just electing to go to half. But at this point in time, Mountain Vista is up 35-21.5. Now here's the crazy thing that happens here, because this is important. This is where things get wild. But at around the 7 or 8 minute mark, so they put 15 minutes on the clock, around the 8-minute mark at halftime, the lights at Halftime Help Stadium goes out. And not only that, but the electricity and the lights in the surrounding shopping centers and area goes out as well, as Highlands Ranch experiences a very interesting blackout on this pretty clear fall day here. Now, fast forward 30-40 minutes, Mountain Vista comes out here. They're on the field. They're looking ready to go. The lights eventually come back on. System reboots. Looking at the scoreboard, I mean, the score is the exact same. It stopped right at 8 minutes, so it's looking like we're going. Mountain Vista's already on the field. They're getting ready to warm up. They are warming up and whatnot. But then a good 3 minutes later or so, they reset the clock to 15. Fairview, I don't think, has come out of the locker room yet, by the way. The lights go out again, and they would not come back on for a very long time. And so eventually the decision was made to go ahead and move this game to Echo Park Stadium in Parker. So just to put this in perspective, this took place at halftime help in Highlands Ranch. They would relocate this game to Echo Park in Parker, Colorado. That's roughly 20 to 30 minutes away here down south. So a very interesting thing. And not only that, but they would obviously go ahead and push kickoff to 10:30. So at the time when that second half would kick off, it would be almost a whole 2 hours, at least 2 hours since the first half ended. So just keep that in mind. Now, a lot of interesting things happen, but I do get out of there pretty early and I get on my way down. But texting some people, shout out Box State Sports and our guy Spencer, he would say that right as I left and right as the players would leave, the lights would all come back on at halftime help. So maybe a hasty decision, but we were there for a really long time. It is definitely something to keep in mind here, which we'll talk about later. But like I said, the whole block was just dark. There were no lights on in the surrounding gas stations or anything like that. I mean, the traffic lights work, and that was pretty much it. But then you drove past the block, and everything was fine. So, with that being said, it is 10:30 p.m. here when we would start the second half. Mountain Vista with the ball. Everyone has relocated just 20 minutes south here of halftime help to Echo Park in Parker, Colorado. Here we go. Fairview kicking off, but it's an onside kick. Still, though, recovered by Mountain Vista near midfield, so avoiding disaster here. They go ahead and throw a quick out to Japri Jennings. That goes for about 9. They then hand it off to Blaze, who gives them a first down on some nifty moves. Also puts them on the 33, so a nice gain after that. They go back to Blaze here, but he's stuffed, so 2nd and 10. On second down, Austin rolls right. Throws a dangerous pass that is picked off, I believe, by Sabby Rutgers, but he's definitely out of bounds when he catches this one, unfortunately, so it's incomplete. 3rd down here, it's a low throw, so that's incomplete as well. 4th down, here's what happens. Modreski gets a snap, throws it deep up the seam, or up the post it looks like, and it's on the money, but is dropped here. A turnover on downs despite the elite throw. And so Fairview takes over. They're down 2 scores still, but they're on the 33 with 10:13 left. They go ahead and line up in wing T to start. They hand it off to Rochelle. That goes for 2. Following that, some trickery in the wing T formation. Ellison tosses it to, it has to be a receiver, who then throws it deep to Jordan Rochelle on the post, who is wide open. He gets this one, and he goes to the house to cut into this lead here. Fairview only down by 7 points. It's 35-28 with 9:44 left. But Mountain Vista not going away. They recover another onside kick, by the way, here. So 2 onside kicks to start this quarter, start this half. They go ahead and start with a couple Jack Blaze runs. That makes it 2nd and 2 eventually on the 30. Following that, Austin Modreski keeps the read option left. He gets the first down, puts them on the 16. They then hand it off to Blaze again. He gives them another first down in the red zone here. At this point, Mountain Vista tries to go hurry up, but they would false start here. So now it's 1st and 8 on the 8-yard line here. And here is what would happen. Modreski gets a snap, and it's a quick swing pass left to Blaze, who cuts it upfield and scores. Gets in the end zone for the touchdown to re-extend this lead to 2 scores, making it 42-28 with 7:24 left here in the 3rd. Now Fairview takes over with 7:23 left on the 20 after the touchback. On the first play, it's a 2-yard run. On the second play, out of wing T, it is a pass deep, but it's incomplete here. On third down here, they line up in shotgun this time. Ellison throws the out route to Rochelle, but he is definitely interfered with, so that's now an automatic first down after the PI penalty. They then hand it off the middle right up to Rochelle here, who pinballs around here, breaking some tackles for a big first down. They then run a sweep right, but that's stopped for a big loss by a number of Mountain Vista defenders. It's now 2nd and 17. On second down, Ellison rolls out right, and he throws to Torrey Davis, but it is dropped. On third here, Ellison gets a snap, and he throws the crosser to Rochelle. He brings it in, and he gets a big first down here. Now back in wing T, they hand it off to Brock Colstead, who gets a nice 7-yard gain. They then hand it off left here on the sweep to Luke Strickland, who breaks some tackles and gets another big first down here. 1st and 10 on the 18 as Fairview is rolling here. Another Colstead dive here, goes for 4. Another handoff to 3. And then a handoff to number 21, Torrey Davis. Hammers forward, but is stopped here. Almost scoring here, but stopped short on the 1-yard line. They would then go ahead and just hand it off to Rochelle, who powers forward to make it 42-34 after the touchdown with 1:20 left. Now the PAT once more for Fairview would be blocked, so it stays an 8-point game. Now Mountain Vista takes over with 1:20 left here. They start on the 35. It starts with a jet sweep left to Conway for 5. Then a draw to Blaze here. That makes it 3rd and 4. Madreski then throws to the flat to Ja'Kai Mack, who breaks a number of tackles and rips off a huge gain down the right sideline before getting tackled here. And that would end the fourth quarter as Mountain Vista looking to go up 2 scores once more and hold back Fairview. And so here we go, 1st and 10 on the 16 for Mountain Vista in the red zone, I believe. It's a check down on 1st down to Mack. That is now a 2-yard loss instead of a big gain. On 2nd, Madreski scrambles right, makes it 3rd and 6, and then handed off right to Blaze, but he's stopped by a wall of Knights here before getting the 1st down. So it's 4th and 2 here. I believe now they are on the 8-yard line. And Mountain Vista, they want to go for it, but first they call their first timeout here at 10:14 left here. And so here we go. They're going for it 8 yards away from the end zone here. Madreski gets a snap. He throws a slant, and it's intercepted by Torrey Davis. That's a huge stop for Fairview to prevent this one from being a 2-score game again. So now Fairview, they take over on the 20 with 10:08 left. They hand it off to Davis. That goes for no gain. They then throw it deep here, but it is just off the mark. Couldn't quite connect. So now 3rd and 10 here. They would go deep again left, but it is overthrown. And so Fairview goes 3 and out, and Mountain Vista takes over at midfield basically on the 49, 8:56 left. Another opportunity to go up 2 scores here. And so here's what happens. Quick pass here, to Blaze, goes for 3. Then run it with Blaze, that goes for 12. And then hand it off to Blaze again. He gets another 1st down. They're looking to use up some of this clock here while giving Blaze his touches. They hand it off again here, right. He carves them up for another straight 1st down. It's another Blaze handoff, right. He goes for another straight 1st down. 3 straight 1st downs of 10+ yards. So now it's 1st down on the goal line here, and they're going hurry up now. Austin on the option keeps it. He goes ahead and makes it 2nd and 3 here. They then hand it off to Blaze, who scores, but there's a personal foul to take this one away here. So now it's 2nd and 8 for Mountain Vista. They hand it off to Blaze again anyways, who tries to cut it back, but he is stopped for a loss or for maybe 0 yards here. Either way, it's 3rd and about 8 or 9. On 3rd down here, Madreski throws the drag route to Brooklyn Bailey here, but he is popped by Jordan Rochelle. And he is very much short here. It's 4th and 5 in the red zone, mind you, on the 5-yard line, I believe here. And instead of going for it like they did last drive here, they go ahead and kick the 23-yard field goal, and it's good as they do go up 2 scores. It's 45-34 here. 4:10 left in this game. Fairview not out of it. Still 3 timeouts here. So here we go on the 20-yard line. Ellison in shotgun. He goes ahead and gets a snap. Has time here, but nobody's open. He checks it down to Ryder Villarreal. That goes for only 1 yard. But it doesn't matter. On second down, he finds Jordan Rochelle on the out route left. That goes for first down. On first here, Ellison goes right here, rolls out right, and throws to number 2, Sabby Rutgers, for another key first down. That was near the sideline. Great throw right here. Following that, still in shotgun, Ellison gets a snap. He decides to scramble right here, and he gets a good gain, but a face mask penalty thrown on Mountain Vista would give them a first down and some. So now they're on the 35. On the 35, 1st and 10 here, Ellison gets a snap, throws deep down the left sideline, but the receiver's just not quite able to bring it in. A drop here, so now it's second down. On second down here, Ellison scrambles right here, and he gets some yards here. Just a couple, like maybe 3 or 4. Then on third, Ellison throws the out route to Torrey Davis, who brings it in. A great throw here and a great catch for a first down on the 15. Now in the red zone here. 1st down and 10 on the 15. Ellison, he gets a snap, rolls out right, throws across the middle, over the middle, across his body to Ryder Villarreal, who walks it in for the touchdown here. A great touchdown throw to make it 45-40 here. Now on the PAT, they're about to kick it, but then they call Mountain Vista for 12 men on the field here. So that moves them up, and Fairview decides to go for it. They just hand it off, and it's a big push, I believe, to Jordan Rochelle, and he gets the 2-point conversion to now make it 45-42. Only down 3 points now to Mountain Vista. And so 2:15 left here. Fairview goes ahead and kicks the onside kick, and this time they recover the onside kick. 1 of 3 this half, but the one that matters comes within 3 minutes of this game ending. And so Fairview not only has a chance to go ahead and retake the lead, but they have a chance to win this game. Here we go on the 46-yard line in shotgun. They hand it off left. That goes for 4. They then get back into wing T, and they hand it off right here. That goes for a loss. They call a timeout at 1:10 left here. And so 1:10 left. Fairview goes back into shotgun, which is what they probably should have, and Key Ellison gets a snap. He scrambles right. He gets him a first down, also gets out of bounds here. They're now on the 34-yard line with 1:03 left. First down here, Ellison takes a shot deep to Sabby Rutgers, who's in 101, but he gets turned around here, not quite able to track this ball, which was a good throw, so that's incomplete there. But it doesn't matter. Second down, Key Ellison gets a snap, and he throws down the right sideline on the wheel route to Wyatt Keegan, who brings it in. A perfect throw here to put them in the red zone. Under a minute left as the clock runs. They are on the 10-yard line. Here we go in shotgun. Key Ellison gets the snap. He's looking. He looks off the safety, throws it to Torrey Davis right, and he brings it in for the potential game winner as Fairview goes up 49-45 here after the PAT. A great play, really 2 consecutive elite plays by Key Ellison, the sophomore quarterback of Fairview, to go ahead and give them the lead here. And so here we go, Mountain Vista, 27.5 seconds, 2 timeouts, only down by 4, but need a touchdown either way. They start on the 35. Austin Modreski, the last time he threw a Hail Mary was in this stadium, ironically enough, and so can they put together some magic here? Here's what happens. 1st and 10. Modreski gets a snap. He rolls out right. He tries to throw it deep off platform here on the post route, but it's picked off by Torrey Davis of Fairview, the junior, who seals the game as Fairview upsets Mountain Vista and hands them their first loss of the season, winning 49-45. Fairview finding a way to get it done here. Oh my goodness. By the way, this game ended at like 11:20 p.m. as well, and then I had to drive back to the Springs after. So I am exhausted. I'm recording this on November 23rd. It's like 7:30 a.m. right now, so just a couple hours after, but I have to. So the emotions are definitely raw, but what a game. This might be the greatest 5A football playoff game in podcast history. I think, in my opinion, I think it is the greatest 5A football playoff game in podcast history and one of the greatest in Colorado high school football history, period. But insane here. before we get into all the craziness that happened at halftime, let's talk about the two teams as I usually do here. Let's start with Mountain Vista. This is a tough one here. The season ended with them being an 11-1. And even then, I mean, this team scored 45 points and just could not win the game. On top of that, there is only one team who scored 3 scores on them, I believe, and that was Valor Christian, who they blew out 62-21 earlier on. And so for Fairview to score 49 is absolutely insane. Like I said, some things happened at halftime and whatnot that threw some stuff off. But, the defense for Mountain Vista ended up really hurting them here. Offensively, if you score 45 points, you should be able to win the game. Obviously, that was a tough throw at the end that ended up being picked. But, I mean, you scored 45 points on offense and the defense allowed 49. So, just kind of a fluky environment altogether. But, we got to shout out this Mountain Vista team and Coach Aluni. They have had an elite season here. And, this is a group that has been around for 4 years. The core of this group, I would say, has been around for 4 years. And so that's including Austin Madreski, Jack Blaze, who's also a senior, but started for 3, I believe. You also have Sean Conway, Jakai Mack. You have Carter Daniels as well. Aiden Vincent, I believe, is a senior as well. That's their defensive end who unfortunately got hurt sometime in this game as well. Jack Heath is another senior to throw out there. I mean, these seniors led this team, some of them for 4 years. And, we had the honor of being able to cover them for 4 years ago. I believe 4 years ago, Cody and Mason actually went to a lot of these freshmen's first games against Arapahoe very early on in that season, all those years ago. And, for them to watch them play, a lot of them play in their first starts and, do their thing in those first couple games, and then now cover them 4 years and watch them in this playoff game, which was a heartbreaker for sure, but a great game regardless and a great effort. It's special. And so just a big thank you to those Mountain Vista seniors and the community over there. We really appreciate all the support over the years, and it has truly been a special thing to be able to cover those boys and the history that they made, because regardless of what happened, in these playoffs, they made history with how prolific this offense was and how dominant this team was throughout this season. I mean, just looking at it, they've beat multiple teams who are still in the quarterfinals, or who were in the quarterfinals. You had Valor Christian, you had Erie, who are both in the quarters right now, and I believe, Erie played last night. Valor's going to play in just a couple hours here against Columbine, and, they beat those teams pretty dominantly. But for this one to end the way it did was just rough. Now, we'll talk about all that craziness here in a minute, but I need to give Fairview their flowers here. In my predictions, I said this, it's written down, and you could go back to the last episode 420, and check that out. But I did say that Fairview needed to make this, and I'm paraphrasing, but they needed to make this a shootout for them to have a chance to win. And that's exactly what they did. Now, they obviously had a little bit of help as well, but in that second half, they were down 35-21. They would score 28 points in the second half, and that would be big time. That's huge. And so many players contributed to that. Torrey Davis, Jordan Rochelle, Brock Colstead, Luke Strickland, Wyatt Keegan, all those great players, who we expected to do some things in this game. They all contributed for sure, right? And you got to give them a lot of credit. We knew that they were going to do that. But in my opinion, the sophomore quarterback, Key Ellison, he grew up tonight. He had a signature game. I believe his first, I would probably say one of his first big signature wins of his young career here. I mean, that Arvada West win was pretty sweet as well. But if you want to be an elite quarterback in this state, in the country really, you got to win some of these games, and he did just that. First off, they blew out a very good Chatfield team, and then they beat Mountain Vista, who, was going back and forth between the 1 and 2 seed. That's big time. And some of those throws he made down the stretch, especially in the fourth quarter, I mean, it wasn't bad defense. This is a good Mountain Vista secondary. He just made great throws. The game winner where he looked off the safety and eventually found Torrey Davis on that little drag/slant. That's big time. You don't see many quarterbacks, at least in the last couple years, doing that. It's more common now here in Colorado, but that's just big time. Found a way to get it done. You gotta love that. For the defense of Fairview, I mean, they did what they could, right? I think that big interception that would prevent, Austin Majeski and Mountain Vista going up 2 scores, as in, 14 plus. That was big time as well. And then, the onside kick. I mean, we got to shout out the special teams. 3 onside kicks in the second half. They only needed 1. And they got it when it mattered. That is the stuff of legends. I'm telling you what. Oh my God, I'm getting chills from that. But, that really turned the tide there, in my opinion, because this was really a close game back and forth here. But I would have to say the turning point was that onside kick. And then, obviously it led to the touchdown and then the interception, and they win the game. That's just amazing. This Fairview team, so much credit to them. They did a good job. Now, I will say this. They almost blew it running wing T here, but going into shotgun and airing it out, I mean, this team is dangerous when they decide to pass the ball. I think that's important to throw out there. And even running the ball, they could get some plays out of wing T running the ball as well. But passing the ball, you got guys like Torrey Davis, Jordan Rochelle, who's extremely hard to guard in one-on-one. You have to double team him. Honestly, probably same with Torrey Davis as well. You even have Luke Strickland, who didn't get as many receptions, who's a threat. You have Wyatt Keegan, who's a speedster as well. You have so many weapons here on top of having some good runners in a Jordan Rochelle who could do it all. A Brock Colstead, who's a power runner. He's going to give you a yard if you need it. Key Ellison, who could go ahead and run as well as throw. This Fairview team, they found a way to get it done. They have so many options and ways to beat you, and that's exactly what they did last night against Mountain Vista here. So shout out to them, and honestly, the mental toughness of them as well. Look, they were down 2 scores here at half, and they had so much momentum. And not only that they had to change the locations, but this is farther away from Boulder, where they're all from, than Highlands Ranch, than Halftime Help. And so they found a way to push through, find a way to get it done, be tough, and you got to give them credit for this one. Now things get interesting on this side of the bracket here after this upset win, but we'll talk about that in predictions. So, with that being said, let's talk about the big weird thing that happened. No conspiracy theories can really be made here because you can't prove anything, but it is definitely interesting how only that block of Highlands Ranch had a little blackout, and all the lights came back on once all the players left too. So it's just weird. And, your options at that point, because I was talking to some people, I was like, all right, well, your options at this point with the blackouts and whatnot, you could either wait it out for someone to fix it and it's a long night at Halftime Help. You could find another location, which in my opinion, in my mind, that was the last thing you do, find a different location to play on the same day, or the more reasonable one was to, postpone it, play it the next day, or play it in a couple of days, either at Halftime Help or somewhere else once you figure it out, right? And that has been done before. The last option I just said has been done before, which I thought was the more recent one. But for them to move locations on such a whim here and to make that call, I mean, it wasn't like it was such a hasty call to make, like they jumped the gun way too early. But it is just interesting how the lights came on once most of the spectators left, and, all the players definitely left as well, is all I'm going to say there here. And, a venue reset was what, Fairview needed. I mean, they needed as much reset as possible. Let's just be honest there. With how much this crowd was getting into it and, this Mountain Vista team just rolling, you needed a reset. And, they got that. But at the end of the day, Mountain Vista was up 2 scores and Fairview wasn't. And even then, I mean, Mountain Vista had a chance in the 4th to go up 2 scores again. They got the interception. Fairview literally won 3 and out. And they had got another. Mountain Vista had another chance to go up 2 scores. This time they kicked a field goal here and, made it an 11-point game. Now, if they kicked the field goal originally, they would be up 14. Now, I I mean, I don't know. You can't get, in my opinion, you can't get into the specifics. They still would have lost if they did that, because at that point, then, or I don't know if they still would have lost, but at that point, instead of going for it and that being a pick, you get the field goal, it would have been 48-49 at the end, assuming everything else went the way it should have been. Mountain Vista would score, get the onside kick, score again, and then, they would still have to get into field goal range as well and then make that field goal. And that, even then, that would have been a 51-49 game. Now, that's getting into way too hypotheticals, in my opinion. I don't think that's that big of a swing. A lot of things would have still had to happen, but that is how close these margins are in the 2024 Colorado 5A high school football playoffs. And honestly, I love that. It was a great game by both teams. It sucks that only one could have came out of it. This, honestly, I wouldn't have minded if this was a state championship game. It should have been, right? But, it is what it is. Both teams undefeated. One had to lose. Unfortunately, it was Mountain Vista. Fairview, though, with a gutsy win and a signature win by Key Ellison, they win 49-45 to move on to the next round of the playoffs. They will play the winner of Ralston Valley and Legend, who should be playing here in just a couple hours. So until then, it's Coach V here, and I'll catch you later.
And you guessed it, I am back also for my regular segment here of the 5A recap here. And yeah, let's go ahead and talk about this. Please be sure to check out Coach V's recap of the exhilarating Fairview versus Mountain Vista game. I was actually able to catch the second half of this that took place at Echo Park after being moved from halftime help. Please go ahead and listen to what exactly happened for that to happen. But Fairview wins this thriller here with scoring. They were down actually 45-34 with 4 minutes to go, and they score 2 touchdowns and a 2-point conversion to end up winning this one 49-45. Big time performances. I'm looking at Key Ellison, who played an excellent game down the stretch to help Fairview win this game. Torrey Davis, who absolutely turned up with 2 interceptions in the fourth quarter here, as well as a big time touchdown as well later in the game to go ahead and take that lead. 2 receptions for 31 yards and a touchdown for Torrey Davis. And like I said, those 2 picks, 4 total receptions if you include his interceptions. But he played a fantastic game. Mountain Vista here still played tough. Carter Daniels led this defense with 12 tackles, including 1 for loss. And Gullick got a sack here for a big loss. Brooklyn Bailey got a pick. And they had a couple of blocked PATs as well. So just overall, kind of an insane game. You have to listen to the recap to get the full depth of this. But Fairview punches their ticket to the second round. Now, we'll find out about their opponent in a second, but the other side of the bracket had a game on Friday night, and this was Cherry Creek and Erie. The number 1 seeded Creek team here does kind of cruise to a win here. They jumped out to a 20-0 lead before halftime and increased that to 27-0. Erie would score twice in the final frame, but it would not be enough as they fall 14-34 to Cherry Creek. Cherry Creek performers here, Brady Vodicka here, 11 of 16, 100 yards and a touchdown, but Jaden Fox stealing the show, 9 carries, 168 yards, and 2 touchdowns here. They also get a freshman into the mix here. That is Elijah Cromwell here, who got a rushing touchdown in this game, as well as a few carries. As far as receivers go, Jeremiah Hoffman, 2 receptions, 65 yards, and a score. Otherwise, the ball was pretty spread out. And this defense just playing lights out like they have been all freaking year. Very talented front 7, and now they advance to the second round. As for the Saturday action here in 5A, these games were not attended to, but on the Creek side of the bracket, we had Columbine versus Valor Christian. I end up getting this one wrong as Valor Christian kind of cruises to a win here, winning 31-7 here. Columbine just not able to keep up here. Valor Christian gets a good performance out of Dawson Olk, 15 of 22, 155 yards and passing touchdown, and they run the ball especially well. Chase Hanash here, 20 carries, 120 yards, and Cash Spence with 2 rushing touchdowns. Just one of the best offensive threats in the game here, also throwing a passing touchdown here. So McGatlin back to his bag of tricks, and then defensively, just a lot of stout defense here. Miko Lewis led the team with 11 total tackles here. And as far as TFLs go, you had Moses Freeman getting on the action, Jack Brown leading the team with 2, Rocco Callie and Elliott Smith all getting in on the action, and Callie also getting a sack, and Miko Lewis getting a pick as well. Just tends to happen when you don't practice the pass all that much, especially against the defense as vaunted as Valor Christian. So a multiple-time state championship that we've gotten in the past of Valor and Creek now finds its way in the semifinal round here. We're going to go ahead and predict that game just a little bit later. But as for who Fairview is awaiting, is the Legend versus Ralston Valley game. And on this Saturday action here, Legend jumped out to a 14-0 lead. But before the half ended, Ralston Valley would respond here with a touchdown, making it 14-7, trying to keep this game within striking distance here. But after a third quarter that saw Legend outscore Ralston Valley 7-3, that put them up 21-10, and they would not look back, eventually winning this game 35-16. Ralston Valley, for their part here, Zeke Andrews, 26 of 36, 183 yards and a touchdown, but 2 interceptions here. And this run game averaged about 5 yards per carry, led by Colton Stratman here, 10 carries for 59 yards. And as far as the leading receivers go, Nico Bonallo here got 68 receiving yards on 11 receptions. So they were just very, very strict here, this Legend defense, as they have been all year. Now, the Ralston Valley defense tried to do their part here. Robert Mendez, Matt Gates, and Aiden G all finding themselves in the double digits of tackles, but Legend was just too much for them here, rushing for 302 yards in this game. Jaden Lawrence leading the way with 109 rushing yards and a rushing touchdown. Champ Jones punching it in twice. And you also had Carson Flowers, who ripped off a 53-yard touchdown run here. Just a bevy of athletes on this Legend team here. Riken Banks was second on the team in carries with 12 carries for 64 yards. And then defensively, obviously, they just tightened the hatches here. Brody Dodge, 11 total tackles, 1 for loss. Tatum O'Donnell, 5 tackles, 2 for loss. And, oh man, I'm going to butcher this one. Noonschwander here, 10 tackles, 2 for loss. Raymond Bergner here, 10 tackles, 2 for loss. I mean, just the usual suspects causing absolute havoc on this Ralston Valley defense. This squad also had 4 total sacks, and those 2 interceptions were courtesy of Peyton Auckland and Raven Bergner here, and a few pass deflections as well sprinkled in. This Legend defense was just way too much for this Ralston Valley offense. Shout out to Ralston Valley. I think that they really overachieved this year, but yeah, ultimately Legend here wins on the road and advances to the semifinals against Fairview. Now, we've been talking about it here, but let's go ahead and talk about the predictions here. And let's start off with Fairview versus Legend in this half of the bracket here. And let's go ahead and start with Phoenix here, who says, quote, choo-choo! Fairview's train continues to roll as they took down the high-scoring Mountain Vista. Everyone in PMC knows how much I've been behind Fairview in the rankings, and they only continue to prove themselves. They will have an ultimate challenge in front of them, facing a Legend team that took down a highly ranked 5A team themselves in Ralston Valley. But with how well Fairview is on offense and scoring a lot of points, Legend will be left playing chase and catch up if they aren't able to at least bring it on defense, end quote. Gino here, he's going to swing the pendulum further in Fairview's favor after probably being the biggest Legend supporter. He says, quote, I want to pick the Titans very badly here, but Fairview just beat one of the most stacked offenses in Colorado history. Legend has a history of struggling against the wing tee as well, and Fairview has multiple college-level talents on top of that. I expect Fairview to win by a couple scores just because they're red hot right now, and Legend just doesn't match up well here, end quote. Gideon is also taking Fairview, saying, quote, there are a few times that I have seen a team have a momentum swing like Fairview had in those last couple minutes and keep it going. It's like when a basketball team wins a playoff game on a buzzer beater. On paper, this is close, but this Fairview team just beat my pick to make state on this side of the bracket. The Fairview offense, with a good Key Allison, is one of the best in the state. Coach V is also going to take Fairview here, saying, quote, they did what I said they needed to do and made it a shootout against Vista. While it was a win during a very peculiar situation, they still got out a tough win versus a great Mountain Vista team. If they can put the ball in the hands of Key Allison to either ice the game or win the game, I love their chances. The QB spot will be the difference, and Legend just doesn't come anywhere close in that area. If Legend can run the ball well, it'll be close, but even then, you'll need Fairley to make some plays, end quote. And I am also taking Fairview here, saying, quote, saying, quote, on my own words, let me just go ahead and let it rip, saying the performance from Key Ellison sold me on the Knights squad, who's also incredibly physical on defense and has playmakers at every position. Their weaknesses just don't feel as glaring as Legends does. So that puts us all in a very tough spot if Legend pulls this out. But things aren't really going to change on the other side of the bracket here. Spoiler alert, we're all taking Creek, but here are the reasons, starting with myself. That says, I like that we get this in the semis instead of the chip this year, but I feel like Creek top to bottom is just a lot better than Valor. Simon is also taking Creek, saying, quote, fitting how we saw so many state championship clashes between these two, and they once more meet in the semis. Valor has played some tough football since their devastating loss to Mountain Vista, but they have not faced a group as talented offensively as them until now. Cherry Creek has so many offensive weapons, and most likely Valor will need to sacrifice one of them going off in order to focus on stopping another. This has the potential to be close, but right now I just like Creek more, end quote. Let's go ahead and check in on Gideon here, who has Creek, saying, quote, Valor had a heck of a run and can hang a banner, but Creek has more ways to score. He's talking Final Four banner. I don't know if Valor hangs those, but anyways, back to Gideon's quote, Creek's depth is also going to help a lot with Ashton Noyes and Elijah Cromwell in the wings. All around, Creek wins this about 75% of the time, but there is a world where Valor wins. However, I give it to Creek for the 5th time in 6 years, end quote. Gino is taking Creek, saying, quote, while Valor has been extremely impressive this season, I think Cherry Creek has a clear path to a state championship here. Cherry Creek can beat teams in any way they see fit, and that's extremely difficult to scheme against as an opposing coach. This is a matchup between two of the best teams in 5A Colorado football this century, so it's going to be a great game either way. I'm definitely going with the Bruins here, end quote. And Phoenix here is also taking Creek, saying, quote, the state championship is pretty much theirs to lose. They won't be facing the team that defeated them in state last year in Columbine, but they'll have to face a Valor team looking to put themselves back into the state championship game and bring the program back to its former glory. But this is the Cherry Creek era, and they are still hungry for redemption and want to win what they feel is rightfully theirs, the 5A state championship, end quote. So that is all the picks for a Creek and Fairview state championship up at Canvas Stadium. We'll see what happens here, but in the meantime, those are our selections for the 5A teams. All right, y'all. It is Cody Stoffer here with the Playmakers Corner podcast, and I am going to keep it rolling here, this time taking over for the points tracker that we do every single week here. And yeah, let's go ahead and talk about it. So obviously the past rounds were accounted for, rounds 1 and 2. Those games being worth 1 and 2 points apiece, respectively, but a lot more games in those rounds this time. We got 16 total playoff games, but each one is worth 4 points each here. And so, checking back into last week, Phoenix had a 1-point lead over myself at 81 points. I was sitting at 80. Coach V was in 3rd place with 77 points. Gideon in 4th with 69. Nice. And Gino 1 point behind. So, let's go ahead and take a look at how we did this week. Because, like I said, less games, but more points per game, which is what's going to make this interesting. So, I'm going to go ahead and just start off here with Gino here. He actually got 12 games right, which was tied for the most this week, getting both 1A games, both 2A games, and then 3 out of the 4 3A games, 3 out of the 4 4A games, and half of the 5A games. This made for 12 total games right at 4 points apiece, which gave him 48 points and catapulted him just up 1 spot on the ladder here with 116 points. Now, swapping places with him was Gideon here, who still got 11 games right for a total 44 points here, getting everything right in 1 and 2A once again, but then only getting 2 in 3A, 3 back in 4A, and then only 2 in 5A here, putting him at 113, just dropping him 1 spot down. Now, for myself here, I was the worst performer this week, only getting 10 games correct. I got all of 1 and 2A. I actually got 3 out of the 4 in 3A, only 2 of the 4 in 4A, and an abysmal 1 of 4 performance on the 5A level. I think the only one I got right was Cherry Creek. The rest I was incorrect on. So that only gives me 40 points, but it is enough to still stay within striking distance here. I am in 3rd place at 120 points. Passing me from his former 3rd place spot is Coach V here, who got 11 games right here, going perfect on the 1A and 2A level, and then 3 out of 4 games on the 3A level, and then half the games correct in 4 and 5A as well, and that gave him 44, like I said, which boosts him up to 121 points. But having tied for the best week and also continuing to increase his lead was Phoenix, who shrugged off a very tough week in 3A where he went 1 of 4 to go perfect in 1, 2, and 4A here, and then get 3 out of 4 correct in 5A. That is 12 games that he got correct, which totals 48 points, putting him at 129 points heading into the championship weekend of 1A and 2A and the semifinals of 3, 4, and 5A. Those games next week are all going to be worth 8 points apiece. So still a lot of movement can definitely happen here, but less room to kind of jump up and make some moves here. So from bottom to top here, ranked in 5th as of right now is Gideon at 113 points, Gino at 116 points, both of those selectors swapping places. And then Coach V and myself swap places. I am right in the middle of the pack here at 120 points. Coach V is at 121 points here in second place. And then with an 8-point lead heading into championship weekend of 1 and 2A is Phoenix at 129 points. Look out for the new kid on the block. He's here to take the predictions crown for himself this season. But go ahead and double back and listen to the predictions that are at the end of each segment here between 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5A here, where we do a recap and then do our predictions. Listen to those and then see how we do throughout the weekend and maybe track who's going to make some moves on the leaderboard. And last but certainly not least here, we got our Playmakers of the Week section brought to you by Code Red Coaching. Be sure to visit CodeRedCoaching.com, where the grind to greatness starts with the mind. Get in touch with our guy, Cody Rosenthal, at rosecj.6599@gmail.com, so that way you can go ahead and get your mind mentally sharp and ready to perform like these Playmakers of the Week from Week 13. So, as fate would have it here, when there's less games, there's less Playmaker of the Week nominees here. And so that makes our job pretty easy. But there's still some all-time performances here in the postseason where legacies are being made. Such a case here in 1A comes down to a few fellas here. Casey Midcap, Sam Meisner, and Dante Vigil here. I was able to see Dante Vigil's performance. 6 carries, 129 yards, and a touchdown, including that 79-yard touchdown rush. And then 1 of 1 for 13 yards and a passing touchdown, along with 17 tackles on defense, 3 solo, 14 assists, and 1 for loss. As for the Eagle fellas here, flying high, Meisner here, 20 carries, 142 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 receptions for 88 yards and a score, along with 12 tackles, 8 being solo and 2 for loss. But ultimately, Phoenix is choosing Casey Midcap as your 1A Playmaker of the Week. 10 of 13, 240 yards, 4 passing touchdowns, along with 7 carries, 39 yards, and a rushing touchdown to go with 9 tackles and 3.5 tackles for loss. That gives him the most passing yards out of everyone on this nominee list, the most touchdowns out of anyone on this list, and the most tackles for loss out of anyone on this list, despite having the least amount of tackles, making every single one count and helping the Eagles punch their ticket to the state championship that we will be attending here Saturday, Dutch Clark Stadium. Moving along here to the 2A section here for Gideon here. He has Cash Algefager as a nominee here of Wellington, 109 rushing yards, 1 rushing touchdown, a receiving touchdown, 5 tackles, a pass deflection in the blowout win over Eaton to advance to the school's first ever state championship. As for TCA here, he selected a couple of guys to look at here. Brandon Godoy, I want to say is how you say that. Sorry if I butchered that. Who had 54 rush yards and 2 rushing touchdowns, as well as 6 tackles in the win over Basalt, but ultimately landed on Elijah Wright, 47 receiving yards, a receiving touchdown, and 24 tackles, including 1 for loss in the win over Basalt. So your 2A Playmaker of the Week is TCA's very own Elijah Wright with an insane defensive performance in a high-scoring game to help the Titans punch their ticket to Dutch Clark Stadium this Saturday. Moving along to 3A, I had the pleasure of selecting for this week here. We had a couple of good options here. Specifically, 2 defensive guys for Mead really caught my eye. Hagan Williams, 14 tackles, 6 solo, and Caleb Goff, who had 7 tackles and 4 solo of Mead. Caleb being selected as Gideon's defensive playmaker of that game specifically. Go ahead and listen to his recap on what was an instant classic in 3A. But for my selection here, I got to go with Simon Lunsford here. 18 of 22, 283 yards, 4 touchdowns to 1 pick with 12 rushing yards in Green Mountain's home win over Severance here. He had the same amount of incompletions as he had touchdowns, which is 4. That is honestly insane and just shows you that Green Mountain can win in a variety of ways. And when Lunsford is clicking, this team is going to be really, really hard to beat. So Green Mountain here has my 3A Playmaker of the Week, Simon Lunsford, at quarterback. Now for 4A here, quite a few options that Gino perused here, one including Rhett Armstrong of Palmer Ridge, who stepped in at quarterback for Palmer Ridge after their original starter, Carson Campbell, went down. He put up 208 yards on 13 of 22 passing. Pretty darn impressive. But on the winning side, he also has the nominee of Colin Torres of Broomfield here. 158 yards, 3 touchdowns, and that's on 19 carries here against Palmer Ridge, which they won on the road. So shout out to Torres here, as well as that Broomfield offensive line, who has just been mobbing this season. We also have Landon Kalsbeck, who helped Dakota Ridge get a dub here. 10 tackles, 4 for loss, and 3.5 sacks, as well as 99 yards on 14 carries and a 14-0 slugfest win over Ponderosa. But ultimately, Gino's Playmaker of the Week for the 4A level is Gavin Lockett of Pueblo West. 292 yards, 4 touchdowns on 31 carries. So yeah, almost 300 yards, as well as 4 of 7 for 77 yards and a touchdown and a 42-28 win over Heritage to advance to the semis here on the 4A level. Now, 5A was also a bit of an interesting case here. I kind of looked at Valor here with Mika Lewis, 11 tackles and a pick. I looked at a legend defender here in Brody Dodge, 11 tackles, 1 for loss, a forced fumble, and a fumble recovery. Just kind of weird that 10 of those tackles are assisted tackles. I really like to see my solo tackles here when looking at defensive guys. And then 2 options were really, really good, or I should say even 3 options from 5A, because Austin Madreski still had 5 passing touchdowns and a rushing touchdown. But got to look at the winning side here. Jordan Retchell was really an offensive monster here for the Knights. 12 rushes, 117 yards, and 2 rushing touchdowns, as well as 4 receptions for 147 yards and a receiving touchdown and 6 tackles to boot. So over 250 yards, but I'm going to go with Torrey Davis here, who did every single thing imaginable for the Knights in this game. 1 of 1 passing for 64 yards and a touchdown, 10 carries for 43 yards, and then 2 receptions for 31 yards, and the go-ahead receiving touchdown on offense. But that doesn't even mention his 11 tackles and his first interception that killed a red zone drive for Mountain Vista early in the 4th quarter, and his second interception that officially sealed the game. So not only getting a catch on offense to go ahead, but also getting an interception on defense to slam the door on Mountain Vista's hopes here and advance Fairview to the semifinals. So, once again, those Playmakers of the Week brought to you by Code Red Coaching are 5A for Fairview, Torrey Davis here. 4A, Gavin Lockett of Pueblo West. 3A, Simon Lunsford of Green Mountain. 2A, Elijah Wright of TCA. And 1A, Casey Midcap of Ray. Stay tuned for the biggest performers in the state games, as well as heading for the semis for 3, 4, and 5A. And that'll do it for this edition of Playmakers of the Week. Once again, brought to you by Code Red Coaching. Go ahead to email rosecj.6599@gmail.com or go ahead and visit coderedcoaching.com, where you can benefit your individual athlete, your entire team, or an entire group if you are a coaching staff. So that way you guys can get all the way to the top level here and utilize Code Red Coaching for some sports psych to get you pumped up, developed, and ready to perform. All of that being said, that'll do it for us here at the Playmakers Corner podcast. And before I go ahead and do all of our plugs, I just want to take another second to remind everyone this podcast does not condone hatred of any kind, racism, homophobia, transphobia. It is important now more than ever where this hatred is amplified and even encouraged to fight back, push back, and stand up for those who are marginalized, stand up for those who are oppressed, and make sure that we are looking out for one another here. Just to comment on that Mesa Ridge Montrose thing, I don't care if it was a player, if it was a coach, if it was just a student, if it was a staff member. It doesn't matter who did it. It was Montrose who did it, period. Whatever happened in that visiting team locker room is a reflection of Montrose and the program, honestly. And if you guys can't get that through your head, then there's no getting to you, honestly. And for those who are trying to stir up conspiracy by thinking that marginalized groups or minorities would write any of those things themselves, you are actually delusional. You are actually delusional to think that anybody would write that hateful stuff. I mean, if you saw the images, it is disgusting. It is horrible. It is abhorrent. And Chassa, show some spine here. That's all I got to say on that. And yeah, it's my pleasure to not cover that program. If they make it to state, I will not be watching that game in the slightest. Hopefully the opposing team, whoever that may be, if that Montrose team makes state, hopefully the opposing team wins, because otherwise I'm going to have only 2 games to talk about from that day, and we will not talk about anything positive coming to a community that revolves around hate and promotes it and does not condemn it. Because obviously investigating yourself and finding yourself innocent, duh. Literally duh. That's why there should be other forces investigating this. And honestly, I wouldn't even trust the local departments to be investigating that. That needs to be an outside source to really take a look into it, and something needs to be done. I don't stand for that. I don't support that. And honestly, I hope that justice is reached, though I am not very confident or optimistic in that. All of that being said, there's still plenty of good things to look forward to as far as tackle football with the semis and 1A and 2A state championships down at Dutch Clark. The podcast will be down there, so we are excited. Go ahead and make sure that you are following us on Instagram for live updates and highlights of that game at Playmakers Corner. I think that those stories also upload to our Facebook, Playmakers Corner, 2 separate words. Or if you want to be sure to check out highlights from this past weekend or future weekends, go ahead and check us out at Playmakers Corner on Tik Tok, for those highlights in their full entirety and reels. We are also on Twitter/X at Playmaker Corner, where we have live polls going for the 4A awards this season. So be sure to check those out and go and place your votes, comment in them, tag whoever you need to. Try and get as many people to those polls as possible, so that way you can enjoy our award show knowing that you contributed to that. And we also have 3A awards this Friday, 4A the next week, and 5A the week after. Following all of those recaps, we will also have our top 5 series in full swing, and then we'll transition into other coverages. That being said, you can listen to all of those episodes anywhere you listen to podcasts, whether that's Amazon, Google, Spotify, Apple. Any of those sources are a great place to listen, or on YouTube, where we upload entire episodes. So go ahead and subscribe and turn on notifications for all of those. But I have been your showrunner on this jam-packed, awesome episode here, Cody Stauffer, and we'll see y'all around for the conclusion of some of Colorado high school tackle football this Saturday. Peace.